Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, and with me today is Boneitis. Hey, buddy,
Hey,
how's it
what's up?
going?
Hey, Nick, I'm doing all right. Is my camera on yet so people can see this silly
Your,
thing I'm drawing?
your camera is on,
Oh,
but why
good,
don't
good.
don't call that silly? Something about that is beautiful. I'm going to focus it on it. What
Oh, thank you.
you want to tell people what that is there?
I figured out that me and Nick have a common love of Warhammer 40K in common, and since he's nice enough to host me alongside such prestigious guests as Doug Tenapple and Ethan Van Sciver, I'm like, well, I'll draw Nick something nice. So we're drawing a Inquisitor Nick Rekieta tonight. So. Because I
I
figured isn't really a lawyer class in the grim darkness of the future, so this is the closest I could get.
see, but in the Inquisitors are lawyers without AMASEC, right? Like that's what happens
Yeah,
in 40K.
yeah. So I was like, what's the closest class I could get for Nick? I'm like, oh, Inquisitor. I'm like, they're pretty cool, so we'll just draw Inquisitor Nick. Why not? This is just the layout. I'll probably paint it up tomorrow or something.
Man, that is honestly one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. It's very appropriate. Inquisitors are some of my favorite. I started my 40K hobby. And my hobby is limited to the books because of the logistics of playing the game. It takes a long time, takes a lot of money.
If you want to paint it, yeah, especially.
Right. I've started painting one, and
Cool.
I'm doing here. I'll
What faction are you playing? Oh, I gotta see.
Oh, right. I got these little this is a test run. I just got these little
the little Primaris guys, yeah.
Yeah, I got them. I got
Very
a
cool.
3-pack for $5 because the hobby store in town got a sample, and they're like, "We don't even know what this is." I'm like, "I'll take it."
Dude, that's a good deal. Those things are fucking expensive. They're fucking expensive. I have to limit myself to one kit a month.
Yeah, I would love to play, but I'm using these things to see if I can manage painting. But I gotta get some better paints. The ones that came in the kit were old and like solid. Solid
that'll
rocks.
happen. Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I got into it with the Eisenhorn trilogy. So Inquisitors are like that was my what would you call it?
Introduction.
Loss of 40K virginity. I don't know how to say it funnily.
I started playing in the 7th grade. I played Space Marines because I was a 7th grader, so of course you played Space Marines. But yeah, now I'm just killing time till Sisters of Battle plastics come out. So
yeah, that's been long awaited by the community. The plastics
they're happening this year. I'm so excited.
If I played an army, I like Grey Knights. Because they're Space Marines, but they're rude.
They're Space Marines, but even more deadlier than the deadliest Space Marines.
And or if I were playing Heresy, I'd play Custodians because I love the aesthetic. I love the lore of the Custodians.
They're cool looking. They're cool.
So anyway,
yeah.
But we're not here to talk 40K. We're here. Okay, I'm gonna unfocus it, and it'll go back and forth a little bit. And here's it. We're here to talk pedophilia, right?
Yeah, my fucking fave. Because I can't get away from it.
you sent it
everywhere.
You commented on a stream the other day, something like, "Hey, next time my name comes up, can it be something not disgusting?" So
I actually left a super chat, but it was under my real name, which is Kit Jaspering. It's not a secret, so I didn't even think you knew who it was that said that because you were like, "Oh, this one's from Kit Jaspering." I was like, "Shit, he doesn't realize that's me."
No,
it's not a secret. It's not a dox. Like I don't care. If you try to come to my house and mess with me, I'll blow you in half. So,
yes, with guns that he lost in a lake. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so, but we're talking about them in a very specific context. The last time I talked to you is actually way back in October, like October 5th of last year.
Yeah.
Seems like a lifetime ago for me.
A lot's happened. A lot's happened
in the internet. A lot's happened, personally for me. I think I was just over like 10,000 subscribers. I hit 30,000 today.
23,000.
30 today.
You're at 30?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, dude. Oh, well, thanks for having my silly little ass on. Now I feel like I'm in. I gotta really make sure I'm.
No.
Game today.
I am honored to have you as a guest, sir. Honored.
Oh, well, thank you. The great artist behind Ram Ranch. Yeah, honored to have him.
Wait. Did you write Ram Ranch?
No. I drew a version of it.
Okay.
Dick retweeted it, which I was like, "Why are you doing this, Dick? Your followers hate this shit." Like, he did it. I was, it was nice of him.
Oh man, that's funny. That's
he thought,
beautiful.
I mean, I drew it because it was funny. I did it as your character here some money off of it, so I don't care. It's like the grossest thing I've ever drawn, but whatever.
It's the grossest song I've ever heard.
It is. It's disgusting. And that's why I immediately was like, I need to draw this. That'll be funny. Some guy bought the painting and like hung it in his house. That did happen. So
that's the best part of 2019 is memes and comedy of the internet have spilled into reality. And
I do like that.
Yeah, that I've been waiting for that my whole life. Ever since I found the internet, I've been waiting for it to just become the real. But so, like I was saying, though, we're talking about back in October when I had you on, we discussed the furry Geddon or whatever was going on.
Yeah, the zoo sadist leaks, as they've been christened.
Right, the zoo sadist leaks happened, and we talked about a particular person who was adjacent to that because some of his chats were leaked, and it was apparent that he was grooming an underage
9-year-olds. Yeah, that was James Christopher Hoyt, aka Sanjay Nativis, and that's not a doxing. Once again, you can find him right on the internet because this isn't his first brush with the law. I called in with Nick because I was like, hey, this guy's like probably definitely a pedophile and I know who he is. Yeah. Should I call the police? And he's like, yes. And then after calling 7 different Texas police departments because no one seemed to know what department pedophiles fell under. We finally got some things rolling. He got in some trouble, but apparently not enough because he was definitely still at a convention later that year. I saw him. A lot of people saw him. And that was actually one of the reasons I messaged Nick about following up on this was because me and my publisher, the people at Vivid, in particular, David Lilly, we put out a petition, and I can link it in the chat if you guys want to see. The petition's technically over, but if you want to read the context of what I'm talking about, can I link it in the chat? Does that work? Okay.
If you can't,
there it is. It's good.
Okay, good.
So we petitioned like, hey, the title says it all. Ban convicted sex predators from furry conventions.
Here we go. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to put it on.
Yeah. All right.
On screen
great.
Here.
I think it was Dave's wife found all the cute animal photos to put on it.
Okay, so here I'll read it. I'll read it here.
Yeah, if you want to read it, it's not too long. Go for it.
Yeah, so it says the furry community is and should be an accepting place. It tolerates a myriad of lifestyles, beliefs, and political viewpoints. It is this welcoming attitude that draws many to the fandom, but there is a limit to what can be tolerated. The recent zoosadism chat leaks have illuminated abhorrent crimes against consciousness. Graphic photos, videos, and chat logs depict the rape, torture, murder, and mutilation of animals, as well as the grooming and sexual abuse of children. A smattering of furries are defending these actions on social media. I never thought we would live in a world where it was necessary to clarify that raping dogs is wrong, but these people believe their behavior has implicit support. Now, can the dog consent? That's the real question. If it can't consent, is it rape? Yes. The answer is yes, just in case anyone's curious. Do not do that. Oh my goodness. Allowing molesters inside conventions will put the safety of minor attendees at risk. True. Actually, the interesting thing is there may be a violation of their conditional releases to be at these conventions. I'd be surprised if they were allowed to attend them. But not to mention
Well,
yeah. Well, I mean, but who's stopping them? That's always a question with, well, they're not allowed. Well, who's stopping them though? Not to mention the reputation of any event which is seen tacitly enabling animal abuse. And we're gonna address that tacitly word in just a little bit, I think. We cannot ostracize based purely on internet gossip and rumor. Determining guilt is best done by our legal system. Conventions can and should recognize the conclusions of our legal system and permanently bar convicted sex predators from attending. So these aren't, to be clear, these aren't people that's just like, oh, I heard that guy's a pedo, right? These are people on the registry that we're talking about.
Well, and that's where you get into a tricky thing with Sanji here, is because he somehow got his record expunged.
Oh, so he's
that really did.
He's not on the registry anymore?
He's still, you can find him on like mugshots.com or something, but he had 2 counts for, sex crimes against minors, and he got them expunged and then moved to Texas, and then has obviously reneged, as we've seen with what happened recently, and now he's on the trial for his 3rd, offense, but he got the first 2 expunged somehow. He wrote a journal saying it happened, and if you look on the registry, he's not there anymore.
He must have had a very large donation to
well, that would line up with what we're learning about him. So we think he's got some people possibly protecting him, but that's all alleged. So
no.
It gets weird.
Yeah.
If you want to keep reading, though, that's fine.
Yes, I'll finish up. Sorry, the real Lady Rackets doesn't know what something means. What baby burping means.
Oh, well.
Well, she can figure that out on her own. Okay. We, the undersigned, are calling for conventions to adopt the following policy. Any individual who has been legally convicted of sexual offenses concerning animals and children is hereby banned for life from attending our convention and any related gatherings. These atrocities are unequivocally rejected and abhorred by the community at large, and we believe it's time our conventions reflect this with absolute clarity in their attendance policies. Furry conventions encompass people of every color, creed, and sexuality, and should be a place for fun, fiction, and friendship, not the stalking grounds of convicted puppy racists and child molesters. Sign this petition, forward it to a convention you attend, and remain in touch with them to ensure this policy is enacted. Please take this minimal step to place these crimes outside of our community forever. How did the petition go?
OneCon, after a few months, did adopt this policy. I think it was further confusion. I want to say,
yeah.
I believe. I think Dave's in the comments. He can follow up with which one did. Only one did. We tagged some cons into it. We messaged some. None of them responded. The petition didn't even get like 500 signatures. It got 236, I think it says at the top. Not a lot of traction. Wasn't reported on by any furry news sources. It was just
it's almost like maybe the community doesn't unequivocally reject it.
Well, check this out. Is Dave put it up on his Fur Affinity, which is like the hub page for furry artwork.
Right.
He put a journal up on about it, and they deleted the journal, citing that it was harassment. I was like, okay.
Don't you dare.
Great.
Don't you dare harass sex offenders.
How dare you?
It
was just... Yeah, it was okay. So Dave's confirming in the comments. He's David Lilly in there. He says, "Yep, further confusion. They're the only ones who adopted it." So that was like our little minor victory takeaway. I got a hold of a friend whose staff at Midwest Fur Fest, which is the largest furry convention in the world currently. It used to be Anthrocon, but MFF has taken the thing. And I got this as a response. I said, "Hey, here's our petition," because me and this staffer were working to try and get some of these people banned. To different degrees of success, and this is the response. Blah 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 blah. I talked to other con staff about it. What was brought up to me is how it's not feasible to ban all convicted sex offenders. A good bet cost would have to be added to the registration or somehow paid by the attendee, and the attendees would need to sign consenting to such a check, likely making people avoid the convention. That's a little weird. I forgot that part was in there. But cons run on thin money margins, which is true. And for a place like MFF, it would be $175,500 paid out in just background checks. To put that in perspective, only 48% of that was raised from attendees last year for the charity, which made $85,000. And then lots of new staff would need to be added just to read all 8,771 files. That was attendance that year. Background checks are run on staff for most major fur cons to eliminate anyone with a serious conviction. But running such a thing to a scale of everyone attending a large fur con is not possible. I also ask why we don't ban the well-known troll, people like Kira the Wolf, who was in the Zoo Sadist things. Foxler, who's something else. Growly, who that's an ongoing story, etc. No answer yet, but probably nothing. Know? Oh boy, I've been doing this for 11 years, Nick. I've seen like so much weird shit, and I'm just like, I feel so normal. But probably anyway.
Go ahead.
I was just going to finish it, but probably nothing will happen visibly to the public. Cons tend to deal with such problems internally, and involving the public generally makes it huge. No one is happy and everyone is mad. There was also an earlier thing they said to me where they cited that they could possibly be sued under discrimination laws for doing this. So this is what a con staffer told me. It's someone who's not like a head of staff or anything, but it's the only response anybody got. So from any con. So it's what we have to work.
They're saying they could be sued under discrimination laws for banning convicted sex offenders?
Yes. Can that happen? Is that a thing? Like, I'm legitimately asking that.
I'm legitimately baffled that would be an
issue.
That would be. No, I mean, of course. Of course, a criminal conviction is not a protected class.
Okay.
Any particular criminal conviction cannot be a protected class. It's the opposite. Now you cannot, depending on some very rare things, like let's say Section 8 housing, for example. That's the subsidized rent housing. You may not be able to reject someone who has a criminal conviction in Section 8 housing. That might be, or asking them to submit to a criminal background check. But that's because you're getting money for a government program that's specifically designed to help certain people, and they're already running background checks on Section 8 people, or to some extent, to qualify for the benefit. So, I mean, there's reasons behind it. But I mean, we discriminate based on felony convictions all the time, right? You can't vote if you're a felon. You can't. Right. You can't do it. You can't own guns if you're convicted of a violent crime, or even a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. So, the idea that you'd be able to discriminate based on the conviction, I don't know where they would be getting that. What is possible? Okay. And I don't think they mean this, but if you use the sex offender registry to harass someone, you can still be charged with harassment, right? Like, so if you go onto the sex offender registry and you're like, well, there's Thomas Pilkington or whatever, and you decide you're going to start calling up his house over and over and over, well then, yeah, that's not acceptable. That would be harassment. Whether someone is a pedo or not does not mean that they can't be harassed, that they can be harassed. So you can't use a registry for that. You have to use it for appropriate purposes. But one of those appropriate purposes is making sure that you don't have predators around children. Like that's the whole purpose of it, right? Like that's why the registry exists. So you pull up the registry and you type in your neighborhood or whatever. It doesn't really work that way, although people could set up a database that way. But if you set up a thing and it's like, here's where their last known locations are, their check-in places, so you know, like, is there a pedophile on your kid's walk to school? Because you need to know that.
Sure.
Is what we've decided as society anyway. I mean, whether or not you do.
Need to
Uh,
know. So
yeah.
that was the response. That was really the only, outside of the one con that adopted it and the others that just were dead silent. Which that got in all sorts of weird places too. That was the only response we got, was that it just wasn't feasible based on that they'd have to run background checks on everybody.
Which I think is nonsense, right? Like
Okay.
they don't.
Okay. So you think it is okay?
I mean, just the practicality of it. You can. They already banned certain people for life from all of these conventions, right? Like
Yes.
so
Happens all the time.
it's pretty simple. If someone is identified as a convicted sex offender, then they're banned. It doesn't mean you have to run a background check on every single person. You can have a policy that says we do not allow convicted sex offenders into or people convicted of crimes against animals or whatever, however you want to phrase that. We do not allow them into the convention, and anyone who is identified as such credibly will be banned. You don't have to do a criminal background check. You can check the registry if people bring it to their attention. It's the same way people are banned now, right? Oh, look at this person who has problematic tweets.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, that does happen.
Right. That happens. People get banned for it. So what was the result of this for you? Because that's the interesting part to me.
Well, there was one more odd thing that happened in regards to, in particular, we're going to focus on MFF, which is too bad because I actually do like that convention because I make a lot of money at it. Because it's around Christmas time, people are spending. It's great. But the guy we talked about on your stream, Sanji, Mr. Hoyt, there was a bunch of people tweeting and emailing at the con because he was listed as a dealer, and people were like, "Yo, you're not going to let this guy in." Like these messages that we've all seen, these leaks, are skeevy as hell. The con, and this is all public record, you can see all of this. If you take around on Kiwi Farms threads, I'm sure it's somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They completely ignored any and all complaints about this man. This was the 9-year-old groomer we're talking about.
Right.
And then I saw like the one saving grace was that he was relegated to the adults only section of the con for his, which like that is kind of funny when you think about it, but you know
yeah, he was cock blocked by policy.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, but then I was in the general admission area of the dealer's room, and I did see him walk by. Well, he was walking, and then he saw my table, and then he started walking really fast because everybody knew I was out to get this guy. Because I used to work with him, and I was like, "Fuck you, dude! Like, I am not letting my reputation go down with you because you want to diddle 9-year-olds." So,
yeah, that's
yeah, it sucks.
Let's unequivocally state that is horrifying.
Yeah, it was a weird day for me on the phone.
And there's a special place in hell for that guy.
For guys like, yeah, it's horrible. So he was at the con, and then after the con, people like photos of him were circulating all over, and people were tagging in the con like, "Hey, this guy's in there," and they're just like, "Wow, we didn't know that. Nobody complained," and they publicly did this. They're like, "Oh, we didn't see any complaints." And one of the women involved with the Zoo Sadist leaks, who goes on the online handle of Grizzly Fatalis, was like, "No, I emailed you multiple times about this, and you never got back to me." And the con just kind of played dumb about it. And at that point, you know, as guys like me or whatever, what do you even do? They're just like, "Yeah, well, we didn't know. Like, we can't prove that they knew or whatever, but it looks like they should have."
Yeah, well,
it was disappointing to say the least.
I mean, I know this isn't a legal issue at this point. You know, it could be if someone's kid was assaulted by someone that they were warned about, but
no, I don't think that happened.
No. But in the hypothetical, that could be where like a legal implication for the convention would come in. But the legal standard in a lot of this stuff is not whether or not they knew; it's whether they knew or should have known, whether they had actual notice or even constructive notice. So constructive notice is 400
what
people.
Is that?
400 people email you, and you don't. Well, I'm not checking my email. Well, you had constructive notice, right? Because in reasonable circumstances, anyone would have notice because of all the people emailing about it and stuff like that. Actual notice is where
it was well known that this was
right,
happening.
of course. So that would be actual notice where someone had talked to someone and could prove it and all of that stuff. Constructive notice just means, yeah, I mean, you can say you didn't know, but you obviously did. So for instance, I had a case. One of my first cases was someone who had her boyfriend had stolen jewelry from his grandmother and then given it to her and he said to her that his grandmother gave him this jewelry and that they were allowed to sell it to make some money as a gift, right?
Okay, sure.
And so she believed him, I guess. It was not the brightest intellectual moment of this person's life, and he asked her to take the stuff to a pawn shop and go sell it because it would look weird if a guy came in with a bunch of old lady jewelry and was selling it, is what he said. So she went to a pawn shop and sold it, and then got tagged for receiving stolen property and selling stolen property. So the standard in that case is knew or should have known that the property was stolen, reasonably should have known. And the way I describe it right now, there's a defense. Now, this person ended up pleading guilty. We got her a very good deal. Very, very good deal. It was we got it knocked down from a felony to a misdemeanor. There was no jail time. There's like, 32 hours of community service. And she had posted a cash bail, which was converted to restitution to pay back the pawn shop. And the grandmother got the jewelry back. The police were able to recover that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So all around, very good deal for her. Everything turned out good, but she did plead guilty. So I can go ahead and talk about like the fact that we then had to talk about why she was guilty. And as that story unfolded, like the way I told the story just now, it's kind of plausible. I mean, sure, she was not thinking and she had hearts in her eyes and she's like, oh, she gave us this jewelry and we can go sell it and that'll be great. Okay. Maybe you believe that.
Hey.
But then when you start to get more details, you find out that she didn't go to one pawn shop. He instructed her to go to like 10 different pawn shops and sell one piece at each one. And then she would go into a pawn shop and get rejected and then take the piece somewhere else and stuff like that. And so it started to look more and more like maybe she probably did know, or at least a reasonable person would have started asking questions like, why are you telling me to go, like, why are you instructing me to do this in a shady way? If we have permission to sell this jewelry, shouldn't I just be able to walk up, dump it on the counter and say, what's this all worth? Like, that's the reality. So, she maintained the entire time that she didn't know, and whether or not I believe her doesn't matter. She did plead guilty because she should have known. She should have known based on his actions. And her boyfriend, they broke up during this. He fled the state, and he's a real piece of garbage. So,
yeah, that sounds like.
Imagine getting your girlfriend. Yeah, imagine getting your girlfriend to sell a bunch of stuff as a crime for you, and then when stuff hits the fan, you're like, later, just peace out and flee the state.
That's low. That's low.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple chats here that I want to read.
Sure. Read away, and don't worry, I've got plenty more.
Oh yeah, we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
We're just getting warmed up, and then later we're gonna talk about YouTube, because I have a feeling based on the content of this discussion that this stream is going to get demonetized later, which is fine. That's how it goes. But YouTube was just pegged by the UK Independent. It seems that maybe for the past couple years, they've been monetizing heavily obvious pedophile themed videos and just running ads all over those. So remember that when this stream, which happens to be talking about the horrors of pedophilia, because of the subject matter, will get demonetized, that YouTube for a couple years now has been making hand over fist money on that. And we'll read and talk about that article because I guess it's attached to this. So, fun times. So this one's for you. Keck7Go says, "Hi, Boneitis. How much to commission you to draw Nick's fursona, the law macaw, feasting on the blood of his nemesis, Legal Eagle, while praising corn?"
Let's see. I mean, let's say it's a 2-character commission. It depends on if it's inked or painted, or if it's one of my new 7-foot-tall commissions. But those are pretty pricey. I do those. Let's be probably in the $100 to $180 range. So that's what I'm currently running at.
There you go, Keck. That's
But I thought you were the Legal Eagle, Nick. I didn't realize you were the law macaw now.
Well, there's actually a Legal Eagle YouTuber.
Oh, okay.
And
that guy.
Yeah, exactly. And that he's embarrassing. His channel's embarrassingly bigger than mine.
All right.
But he's if you were to say, what should a lawyer YouTube channel look like? And then you click on his channel, you go, oh, like this. That's what it should look like.
Business law firm. Got it.
Yeah, it's completely boring. It's got the law books that have never been read in the background. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
No good. It's gotta go.
And he has like the lukewarm takes that everyone is just dying to hear. Like, BetterHelp is a good service, probably just fine. And oh, don't worry that Discord is forcing you into an arbitration clause. You won't even need to worry about that. All of that.
We can get
stuff.
into the Discord stuff with furries too, because that's really
yeah.
Oh, that got weird.
I was going to bring that up in just a little bit. So we've got Rotten B says, "Get 2 Griffin on ex-con goer with inside stories."
Yeah, he might be an interesting one. He's pretty. He got kind of deplatformed from AnthroCon as well. I don't know what his side is necessarily. I've never been a big fan of his, but what happened to him was pretty weird. So he might be worth talking to.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. I'm so far outside of the furry community.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah, I'm as close to the furry community through my talking to you as I am to the feeder community through my talking to Josh of Kiwi Farms.
Oh God, the feeder. I thought you were gonna say you had that Xenobite lady on. I was like, oh shit, she was something else.
No, I don't know if she would fit in the video window.
Oh good.
I don't know if the bitrate on the upload could take it. What are other fat jokes with digital stuff? Matthew Rivard. I did just put a new hard drive in though, so maybe I could keep the video stored. Matthew Rivard says Nick Rekieta double wields power fists. Yeah, only after I pry them off of Marneus Calgar's dead body. That pansy, that little brooding, I got upgraded to Primaris and I'm still a salty whiner. That guy. Shut up, Marneus.
Oh. He was my favorite when I was in the 7th grade. He was, I was like, oh, he's the cool space marine.
Double power fists are cool. And Marneus, I actually kind of liked him up until Robute came back. Now he's just salty and sulky. Matthew,
well, he's no Commissary Yarick, let's be honest.
No,
but who is?
Oh, my arm got torn off. I'll just replace it with the Orc War Boss's arm. What?
Yeah. What you gonna do about it, idiot?
Matthew Rivard says, yes, I'll equip my 10,000-year-old warriors with a plasma gun that has a chance out of 6 to explode.
Yeah. That's the efficiency of the Imperium man at work.
Hey, you know what? They got more 10,000-year-old warriors where that came from, buddy.
That's true. They have a million of them.
Brian Williams says, what are you drinking tonight, Nick? Well, I've got Milo's sweet tea, and I've got this is a gift actually from Keck. This is Navy Strength Kalevala. I don't finish. It's a gin. It's a very strong gin, and it bites. It bites hard.
I'm drinking Leinenkugels on my end. Nothing too hard for me tonight, but
yeah, I don't. I can't beer very well, personally.
I love beer. I drink it all the time if it was socially acceptable.
I drink it constantly.
I would, but you would get in a lot of trouble. Like I work from home, so it's like, man, I could pick up day drinking anytime I want. It's like, don't do that, kid. Don't do that.
Yeah, you got to stick to night drinking except for special occasions. That's the otherwise you won't do the work. And he says,
no, I won't.
So he follows up. He says, hopefully enough to suppress thoughts of killing these degenerates. You should check out internet historians. There's not enough gin in the world, buddy. You should check out internet historian series on the Rainforest Convention and their depraved.
It's nuts. Oh my god.
So you've seen this.
Oh, I remember when it happened for real. I wasn't at the con, but I remember seeing people on Twitter being like, why are there so many diapers in the parking lot at Rainforest? I was like, what's happening?
No.
Oh, Rainforest there's a reason that con is banned from the entire state. Not just the hotel, the whole state. They can't have it anymore.
Good Lord. That's
how do you Internet Historian's video is very funny too, so.
Well, I'll have to check it out someday when I'm really into self-loathing. Their depraved sexual acts and zoophilia. Kiro the Wolf should hang. That's again from Brian Williams. So,
oh man, Brian Williams, he's lit up tonight.
Yeah, he pulling no punches. Brian Williams. Well, after Brian Williams lost all of his jobs, I guess that's
the news reporter.
Well, now he's based anti-furry Brian Williams.
Oh, wow. There we go. Good to hear from you, Brian.
James Mansfield, longtime follower, first-time donator. Thanks for the great content. Have some grad school loans. Hey, buddy, thank you very much. I love grad school loans. C. Bassy Cat says, been a furry for 13 plus years and seen some stuff. Man, I've been on YouTube for a whole year and not even a half, and I've seen some stuff. I don't even want to know.
Well, next time Dick's at FurryCon, you got to come out with them. We can all see the horror together. It'll be great.
Where's FurryCon?
I mean, they're fucking everywhere. But the one that Dick went to with us was Midwest Fur Fest. That was 2 years ago, and then Peach was actually there again last year.
That's in Illinois, right?
Yes, it's in Chicago.
Yeah. They'll have to go to the Minneapolis one or something.
There is a Minneapolis one.
Oh, I know.
I go to that one, Furry Migration North. It's very small, but
well, I don't know if that's good or bad. Probably good.
Probably. Fewer sex criminals per capita when it's a smaller one. So
yeah.
FMN's always been good to me. I think I'll be going back again this year since I'm banned from a bunch of other cons. So we'll get to that.
Yeah, we will. I've got 2 more chats, and then let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Bagel Goose says, within the law, macaw fears the legal eagle. How dare you? I fear no man. I fear no man. I fear no eagle, and I fear no legal. I fear nothing.
I fear no bird.
You fear no what?
Birds. I don't know why I put it on a weird accent, but it had to be different from my voice. It's what I had.
No, I think that's correct. Birds are not to be feared. Birds are to be defeated. Siren Jag says, I'm wondering how hard an actual lawyer is going to go on Yonku Productions on a defamation suit just to make an example of him. His backside will be like Smollett in jail, just clanging a dinner bell back there. Whoa! Oh man, I like it when on my Streamlabs.
You got good listeners. I like these guys. They're good.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and I love that on Streamlabs. If the comment is long enough, it goes to the next line, and so as I'm reading along, I don't see what's coming. Kind of like Smollett in jail.
It's like a surprise.
Yeah, so the punchline really hits home sometimes.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, am I going to go after Yonku Productions? I don't know. Not right now. So if you don't know, we talked about this very briefly, and I don't want to focus on this tonight, guys. Tonight
we'll hit on it. It's fine. I got that.
Yeah. Well, tonight is not about Vic Mignogna. There will be more coverage of him really, really soon. However, I started a GoFundMe for Vic Mignogna, who got basically Me Too'd out of a 20-year career, largely off of he kissed my cheek without consent, he kissed my forehead without consent. Those are the bulk of the accusations. I felt weird when he gave me a hug at a convention. Bone, do you ever hug someone who comes up to you at a convention?
People like ask for me to do that. Yeah. All the time. People are like, can I give you a hug? Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, sure. It's fine. You know, as long as you're not too like sweaty or something.
Now, be very careful how you answer this. Have you ever hugged someone who didn't sign a consent form?
Oh, obviously not. I keep those at my table.
just
I've
line up.
got my own like reverse Vic Mignogna situation going on, but that's my own ongoing legal battle, which maybe we'll get to touch on that sometime. But
yeah, we're gonna go right into it as soon as I discuss this thing. So I started a GoFundMe for him. I got his permission to do it, although I, and I'm very aware of who his law firm is. I have communicated with them about this GoFundMe and making sure it gets set up appropriately and deposited into a trust account. So I don't touch the money. Vic doesn't touch the money. It goes into this trust account, pays legal fees, and then anything left over goes to a battered women's shelter in Dallas. So that's that's how it's set up. That's what I said, although I'm not allowed at this point to disclose who the law firm is. Because there are many reasons for that, but that's not my place to do it. So,
Sure.
and Vic has been very quiet on social media. So some people were skeptical of the GoFundMe. Apparently to them, it makes sense for a lawyer who is registered with the Minnesota, attorney registration system through the Supreme Court, who have my info and my address and could have me arrested and disbarred within a matter of days if I did this. They think that I might be trying to steal, at the time it was $17,000.
That sounds like you.
Right. It seems like that, 3 years of school, I'd never be able to work in law again. If you have a crime, a financial crime like that, you will never be restored. Your bar license will never be restored. You will never work in law again. 17 grand, I'm sorry, it would cost magnitudes more for anything to, I turned down, let's put it this way. I turned down a job running a financial, a brokerage, whatchamacallit, like an Edward Jones, right? An Edward Jones branch. I could have run an Edward Jones branch. I would have walked into that job making somewhere between $75,000 and $90,000 a year. And they said, you'd have to suspend your law license. And I said, no, I won't do that. I worked really hard to have my law license. It's part of who I am now.
You wouldn't sacrifice it for an anime voice actor. You wouldn't do it for Edward Elric.
No, shockingly.
You wouldn't transmute your law license into his freedom.
Nope.
So to speak.
No, not at all. I would actually just do it within the law, within the law, and then we'd run the defense, like a normal human would do that. I wouldn't turn it down. I wouldn't even suspend it for or a job that could very easily have gotten into six figures without much effort and time. I'm certainly not going to do it for 17 grand. That's and I would lose it permanently. So no, thank you. But anyway, so this guy, I can't even remember his stupid. Oh, Yonku Productions. He's apparently.
I saw. You were getting in a bit of a Twitter beef with that guy earlier.
Well, he said I was defrauding people. Like, I'm sorry. That's defamation.
Words mean things, retard.
Right, like I know it's Twitter, so they don't believe that it's real, but me defrauding someone means I can't have my livelihood ever again. So I take it very seriously.
And lawyers who lie get in a lot of trouble.
Right. Siren Jag.
From what I've learned.
Siren Jag says, why would they ask you to suspend your law license? They had a weird policy about the risk of giving financial clients legal advice, which if my law license was suspended, it wouldn't mean, I mean, that would be the same thing. So I don't understand. I argued with them for about 5 seconds and then I said, nope, not in the cards. We'll end the interview right now. So, but yeah, so no, I'm not going to go after at this point Yanku Productions. I'm going to troll him and be like, hey, you're going to retract that, you idiot? And he's going to keep making statements, and his ratios are getting worse with every single one because it looks really, really stupid of him. Or he could just apologize and say, sorry, I was skeptical. And I'd say, don't worry about it. You should have been. That'd be fine. I don't blame people for being skeptical. Although now Vic has released a public statement on his Twitter, and so we're good. We're good. And donations have gone very, very well since he released that. I was very glad that he did do that. So now people can be assured that the GoFundMe is good. But like I said, I don't want to sit and dwell on the Vic situation right now. Why don't we transition? We'll put some hormone therapy on, and we'll transition into what's going on with you and these conventions. You said you've got a reverse manana.
Well, that's a different story with the reverse manana. That's a whole other. I can't get into that too much because that's my own legal situation. If I say names, I could potentially kill my chance at getting justice for.
No, we don't want to touch that at all.
Yeah, someone who sexually assaulted some people. But no, that's a very popular furry artist. But
okay, well let's stray away from that.
Let's stay on the things I can talk about.
Yeah.
So all that stuff I just told you happened where that guy was at the convention. People called out the convention like, whoa, what the fuck? Why is this guy here? And then they were like, wow, we had no idea. And I was pissed, but the convention was over. It seemed like he was getting in trouble with the law. I was like, whatever, nothing's going to happen. But at least one convention picked up our petition and is going to do it. That's something. I can live with that. This month rolls around and my publisher and I suddenly start getting, because I don't know if you probably don't know much about how the furry convention circuit works. It's probably not in law school.
No, it's not, but I love to learn.
Oh, good. Great. And this kind of is how a lot of conventions and fandom circuits work, is that you apply for space at a dealer's table. And then if you get in, you set up your table and you deal. Great. You draw artwork for people, sell books to fans, that kind of thing. Most conventions work this way.
Right.
I've been doing furry art professionally for 11 years now. Yay.
Congrats.
And I published. Thank you. It's been a weird way to make my living, but I do really enjoy my job. I just get to paint every day, so that's pretty cool. But
yeah, you can't argue with that. I mean, like briefly, not to interrupt you, but before I was a lawyer, my degree was in writing, literature, creative writing, cool. And I wanted to write, except I had a family to take care of, and it's like, well, writing. It's very hard to make writing pay bills unless you're like writing. And I even tried to do like, technical writing and stuff like that. And they're like, but your degree's in creative writing. And I'm like, yeah, if I can write a novel, I can probably write an instruction manual. I'm just, just going to lay that out there. And but no, it's really hard to get a job writing every day. So I fully commend you for being able to put your talent to work, because you are clearly fantastically talented.
Oh, well, thank you. It's taken a lot of work, but it's worth it. And plus, then I get to go on fun lawyer streams and draw inquisitors. So why not? And I get to say, hey, this is my job. Wow. But yeah, so I go to conventions professionally and go there and do all the the handshaking and sell stuff, whatever, draw boobies for people, whatever they're asking for. And I've been going to Anthrocon. This will be my 11th year. Would be this year. I got in, but my publisher, Vivid Publishing, did not. And they've been going for before me 12 years. So they're considered a very established author. They do they publish a bunch of comics, Firebrat, UberQuest, and their big title is Dreamkeepers, which is like, this title is considered like a staple among furry audiences. It's he's been successful enough with this publishing company and these comics that he's bought a house with this money. Most people can't do that.
Right.
Especially in this genre, because it's niche still. It's niche. So for the convention to say like, oh, snap their fingers and be like, you're out, you can't get this table at the now second largest convention in this genre, with no explanation was irksome and kind of bewildering to us. And so we started looking around, and there were a bunch of dealers who didn't get in, and they were very long established. The common thread we found is that they're all booksellers. Um, there was a God, what was the other? Studio Maki, which sells Japanese doujin comics, which are like fan made comics, usually porn. But they were the only people who sold that kind of thing. So they were a very unique seller. So to get rid of them was really strange because the convention sites all list that they want a variety of goods. And as the singular seller of these types of comics, it was odd to get rid of them. And then the other big one that they got, that Anthrocon in particular got rid of, that we know of now, I've been trying to put my feelers out, collect data on who got out. I only got so much by the time the stream happened. Hopefully with this stream going out, I'll learn more. But the other one was M&T Comics, run by a guy named Big Mike, who's great. He sells every furry or anthropomorphic comic you can think of at his booth, whether it's some gross porn comic or something as critically acclaimed as Black Sad. He sells it all. He's awesome. My husband even, he just found out, and he's like, oh my God, I buy something from that guy's booth every year. So it wasn't from lack of interest. He sells like Stan Sakai's stuff. Stan Sakai being the creator of Usagi Yojimbo.
Sure.
Things like that.
Hold on one second. I forgot that when we last talked, you were only engaged. So congratulations on the marriage, buddy.
We're getting married in May. We just say husband.
You foiled me.
Sorry. Thank you. It's so very sweet of you. We started saying husband because every time I said fiance, everybody assumed it was a woman. And I hate correcting people on that because I feel like a jackass being like, actually, it's a man.
Yeah.
And I never did correct people. I would just keep talking regularly, and then they'd realize their mistake and they'd be embarrassed. So to save everybody else some embarrassment, I just started saying husband.
Okay.
Also,
well,
speaking of last time we
forgive
talked, my dog bite scars healed up. You can see that on my hands. I got all these nice little pock marks on there. That was the talk of the chat last time. Was how did Boneitis' hands get fucked up?
Yeah, you had to you rescued like a puppy from a bigger dog, right?
Yes, I did. That puppy did fully heal, by the way. Badger, the husky puppy, is fine.
Good.
A little got a little shooken up, a little weird around other dogs right now, but got all those drainage tubes and stitches out, so the puppy is okay for people who may have been wondering.
Now, how's Kiro the wolf's jaw doing after you had to pry it off the puppy?
Yeah. God, I would have. Oh boy, that guy. He's Kiro the wolf has retired from Twitter. He is not at anything. But saying so anyway, back to the people who were suddenly. It wasn't that they were specifically banned from the conventions, but it was that longtime dealers and some of them who are in excess of being at these cons for over a decade were very unceremoniously let go. And it was also, there was a couple things going on there that upset me. Was one, I feel like they've been there so long that they were owed an explanation. They weren't given an explanation. They were just told, oh, it was juried this year. You didn't make the cut. But people who have lacked that seniority or even the skill or acumen got in. We've been looking at people who have gotten into these dealers' room and been like, wait, what the hell? Even in my case, like I haven't dealt as long as my publisher. I'm not as good of an artist. And I don't have as much to sell. So I'm like, why did I get in, but not this guy? It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm wondering if it's because my publisher is more, it could be a lot of things. He's more openly conservative than I am in some regards. He's the one who put out this petition. I didn't put out the petition. I retweeted it, but I didn't pen it. So were they mad about that? We don't really know. And you can ask the convention why you didn't get in, but if the line they're giving you is just, oh, you didn't make the cut, it's just like, well, what do you do with that? How do you make the cut next year?
Right.
Get better. It's like, well, okay. And then in the case of a lot of these booksellers, especially like think about M&T Comics, they've been going almost 20 years. Like they were probably very reliant on this as a source of income, and to be dumped like that is it's devastating. This can be a very low margin business. It can be a very high margin one too if you play it smart, but until it is, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean art is that way. Right? You run on thin margins, and you're selling a lot of sweat and goodwill towards future future business when you start out, and then eventually you get to the point where you can charge thousands of dollars for a piece.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe.
I always say you make no money until you make a lot of money.
Right, and that's just the way art goes. It takes the right critic or the right movement in the genre to put your work into a marketable position. And it also I don't know if the world of furry art is the same, but in the world of regular art, it takes the right art dealers making regular art. How sorry, I didn't mean to be derogatory there.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
How
You
to
can make fun of this genre all you want. I've made a career out of it.
But it depends on who your art dealer is and them making the right decisions on pricing and availability. I learned this because I met an artist who was selling pieces for $2 million, $3 million. Of work.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, and I mean she's stunningly talented. Photorealistic.
She's one of the ones that's actually good, because usually you hear that and be like, oh yeah, and they take pictures of feces, and it's like, oh,
you've
cool.
seen her work, actually. I can almost guarantee it, because she was all over the news for a while. Do you remember, that there was that book written by a pastor's kid, or a pastor and his kid, called Heaven is for Real?
Yeah, there was a movie about it.
Right. Okay, so when that kid dies and comes back or whatever, he goes through like a bunch of pictures of Jesus, like that are all over the place, and he gets to one picture and he says, "That's him. That's the picture. That's Jesus that I saw." Right?
Oh, all right.
It's that artist. Her name is Akian. She's a child prodigy. She did the painting when she was like really young, like 9 or 11. Maybe I should pull it up real quick. Like it's
no, because it was in the trailer. I remember that. I lived in Alabama. Trust me, that trailer was everywhere.
You've seen it. It's the story of that painting is phenomenal. It was stolen by her agent. Her agent. So she painted this thing, this Prince of Peace or whatever, and then it was stolen, and then it was sold eventually to some atheist who has it like locked up in a vault and won't display it for like $1.2 million at auction. And they found it, and the person will not return it or sell it or anything like that.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah. But like here, this is I'm pulling up one of her pictures. It's not a, let's see, get it here. Where's this picture? This is one of my favorites that she did. Oh, come on. Hold on. Here we go.
This guy, one of your mods is named Clay Early, and I went to college with a guy named Clay Early, so I'm like, oh my god, is that him?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if I know Clay went to college. I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old.
I'm 30.
Was he short?
Kind of.
Was he like kind of squeaky?
No, he had a deep voice. Clay, do you remember me? I dated the hot Brazilian chick. Like.
Here, let me screen. I realize I gotta probably. You can't see this. How do I get this? I'm so bad at this. Let me.
It's fine. It's fine. I just saw his name. I'm like, man, that's crazy.
What do we want? I mean, I've got it set up so the chat.
Oh wow, she drew that.
Yeah, well, that's a painting that she did.
Wow,
where did it?
That's really good.
I lost it. Hold on. Okay, so you can see that.
Jesus looks like Zach De La Roca.
Well, this one's not Jesus. Her Jesus.
Oh, okay.
This is the Jesus that she painted that was stolen. She painted this when she's like 9 or 10 or 11 years old, something stupid.
Okay. So one of those people we all hate because the rest of us have to work for it.
Yeah, she recently went back and finished it, which I think is this one. That she did. There's a whole story about like why the face is dark on this one. Anyway, she's really cool. Anyway, okay. So the reason I'm talking about this is she was selling these pieces, and these are very large oil paintings.
Beautiful.
I mean, we're talking like 4 feet by 5 foot painting size, canvas size here. And
sure, that's a big painting. Yeah.
So she's selling these things for like hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a piece. And then and selling little paintings like 8 by 10s, like 30,000, 40,000. a piece for these paintings that she was doing on YouTube, 120 minutes that she would put together these ridiculous paintings. And then
Wow, they're like photorealistic. That's crazy.
yeah, and then just not too long ago I checked on it, and they were selling these $30,000 and $40,000 originals were selling for like 7. Because there were some bad decisions made, too much availability, and it was so subjective. The quality of the art didn't change, even the desire for her work didn't change, but she was putting out more work, and her selling agents were underpricing things for a little bit, and that alone, it took the price down on everything she did dramatically. So
yeah, that'll happen. Put out too much, make it mess with the supply and demand.
But my point is, like, the world of art is so fickle that you make nothing for a very long time, and then some little shift, some little change, the right person notices it, and suddenly you're making a living and doing quite well at it.
Yeah. And I mean, I get by and I live comfortably. I mean, I play Warhammer 40K, so
you basically are a trillionaire.
Yeah, I gotta make some money, but like I'm not renting some. I live in an apartment, and me and my husband, fiance, thingamajig, and our dog, we get by, but not making like Sean Murphy or Eric Powell money, not by any means.
I love that you say all of these names, and I have no idea who any of them are.
You'll probably be aware of Sean's work, and if once one of his Netflix shows comes through, Chrononauts. Eric Powell had he had a Kickstarter a few years ago to get the Goon movie off the rocks, but I don't think that ever happened, sadly.
The Goon movie? Wait, the
Goon, yeah.
The hockey movie, Goon?
No, it's not. It's the comic The Goon. There was a Kickstarter to make a reel for it. It was a big thing when I was in college. He's just one of my favorites that I go to. No, there's guys in comics that make a whole lot of money. You just got to be smart about it. That's all.
Now,
but anyway,
on that subject, real quick though. So you've been working this convention circuit. That's where a lot of your stuff comes in: private commissions, conventions, selling at FurCons. What do you think about the whole like move that's happening right now to basically unseat what I'll call traditional media in all genres? Well, like, because there are guys, comics, for example, we're talking about comics. There are guys coming out of the gate now, and they're doing their first comic, and they're making 50 to 100 grand, on Indiegogo, with the right marketing and stuff like that.
Really? Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about traditional media as in like pencil and paint.
No.
Okay, sorry, you got me confused there. When you talk about what people are doing on Indiegogo and stuff like that, oh, that's awesome, because fuck the traditional publishers. They've been dicking us over forever. No, I would say that's the way to go, is to go independent right now. That's where the money's at. You want to work for Marvel or DC, they'll pay you $50 a page unless you really know how to negotiate, or you've got a ton of name brand behind you. Otherwise, they're just going to pay you $50 a page, make you do 22 gorgeous pages a month, burn you out, chew you up, and spit you out, and then just move on to the next idiot who just got out of art school. And that's not me exaggerating. That's exactly what the business model is. They don't give a fuck about you.
It's so funny. I love these the Marvel artists that are out there now. Not the like long established guys who actually do make good money because their names have weight in the community. But these the younger Marvel artists out there who are like, yeah, well, I'm a Marvel artist. It's like, yeah, well, you and every other intern is too. Like,
yeah, cool. So you're getting fucked real hard. Awesome.
Yeah, you're making 22.5 a year, buddy.
Yeah, like my sister-in-law makes her own comic on her own time and makes more than you. My friend Ngozi, first year out of college, she made $400,000 on her second Kickstarter. Like, yeah, okay, work for Marvel, idiot.
Right.
Like, I think she has a Netflix deal now. It's nuts. Jeez. And it was just like, yeah, so don't do that unless you're Sean Murphy and can negotiate a huge price to do, White Knight 2. Sorry, that's very specific, but he gets paid a lot.
but that's what it is though, and I think people really do need to realize that is that the um, business has changed all over the place. I mean, from the time I was born, my dad worked for the same company for like 33, 34, 35 years. I don't remember exactly how long it was. And before that, he worked for like the company that the other company sprung off from for a couple years. So it's like that was the way things were. And then as I started working, my generation, and you're only a little bit younger than me, so
Yeah.
you're in this too. People started bouncing around a lot more. They weren't glued to a company trying to just work up the ladder. They made lateral moves. They tried to build a network. They moved all over the place. I mean, I worked with a guy who, in the time that I worked for one company for a couple years, he worked for like three different ones, all in the same thing, just pop, 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 back and forth, and then making those connections at the different companies, and then going back to another one and getting promoted there. And it was a very different way to do business, and that's trickling into the art community. And I think it has a lot to do with when I'm talking about media, I'm talking about the traditional like idea of a publishing house of some sort being a gatekeeper of content and putting up a lot of money on the front end to allow somebody to have no very little risk and guaranteed returns, because the production house is taking the money, but they're also gatekeeping who gets into the business. That's shifting dramatically as we have access to crowdfunding and stuff, and I think it's great, but I'm always curious to find out what other people think about it.
Well, I think crowdfunding and Kickstarter and all and Patreon is all great until they tell you you can't make money, you can't have access to money anymore. Then it's not good.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different take.
That part I don't like as much.
No, I
Because we
don't.
thought, oh, this is cool. Oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah, this is cool until you can't do it because you have the wrong opinion. Um,
yeah.
I'm
Ooh.
so Pony Cordero says Clay went to Western Michigan and is 30. Did you guys college together or not? We want to know.
No, I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah, Georgia. So that is not the same Mr. Early that I thought he might have been. It's like, wait a minute, that's a weirdly familiar name. Oh well,
Well,
maybe
there
someday.
there aren't that many manlet Clay Earlys running around, but if you're
Yeah,
ever in
well, I guess
Chicago and run into one.
all right, I'll see him. I'll see him at next MFF if I'm not fucking banned. We'll see when those dealers tables go out.
Yeah. Yeah, Clay, now you need to go to MFF, Clay. Uh
I might still go anyway and just do like weird publicity stunts or whatever, but
just
it's not the
be
same as having a table.
just set your booth up in the parking lot or in the street in front of the parking
Yeah,
lot.
there you go. I'm sure Constaff will love that. You gotta move, Boneitis. I'm never moving.
Come and move me.
Yeah, you try, motherfucker. No, MFF hasn't put out dealers registration yet. No, the con that I didn't make it into was MCFC, which is our local Michigan con, which really sucks because it's the only convention I can do out of my house, which is nice because I don't have to buy a hotel.
Right.
And it's like I was there last year and I did really well and people loved me. And then this year I just didn't get in. I was like, oh, why? And they're like, well, we did a grading system and you just didn't make the cut. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know what to do with that. They're like,
Yeah.
and then, well, this is where it got weird. Was I was like, this seems fucky. I thought it might have been like maybe some locals didn't like me because I am banned from all of the local Michigan chat rooms. So there's that. They thought I was alt-right after being on the Direwolf media streams, and I'm not alt-right, but go figure. That's
You
just the
strike me as
reputation
very alt-right.
yeah, that's me. But that's what I get for not towing the line and going on that evil conservative stream. Direwolf, he's a YouTuber that does like news coverage. They've been very nice to me, and they're conservative. I don't care. They pay me money to go on their streams and draw stuff. That's
Yeah, but
cool.
have you ever put gas in your car?
Yes, I have. Why do you ask, sir?
I don't know. What do you call your car? Do you have a name for it? Is it like named the Chamber, or is it named anything like that?
No, no.
I'm just trying to figure out why they would think you're alt-right. I mean, what's the dark secret?
I don't know, because I hang out with guys like you and Dick Masterson and what. It's like, well, they're nice to me. The furries aren't nice to me. The
Yeah.
weird, the cool internet personalities that are edgy are nice to me, and they just happen to be more conservative. And I don't care if they're cool guys.
Yeah, and
Fuck off.
I'm not alt-right either. I keep getting labeled that, which is I don't care.
Tiring, tiring.
Yeah, it's tiring. It doesn't affect me in the same way because I'm not part of a community that will ban me for wrong things. So if people want to call me alt-right, it's like, well, I'll talk to alt-right people all day. I don't care. Uh,
I'm on 62 block lists on Twitter now, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and they're all political. Well, like half of them are political. The rest are like Japanese anti-spam accounts. I don't know what that's about, but apparently they got mad at me. Though
oh,
we
I
did
think
figure out one of them was keep misogyny out of Japan. I was like, what is this? Like,
I think someone made a block list out of my followers the other day, which was
oh,
great.
great.
I was so proud.
63.
Like, yes.
Here's the big 63 then. I made it. All right.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
No, I know I got on one specifically, one of the furry ones, for being against like the pedophile shit. So that's cool. Love it.
Let's see. Bagel Goose. He says, also may Boneitis be the last to be gassed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's another thing that's happened is I've got this weird reputation among like the Killstream crowd as like the only good furry. Um, when the kill, so I stream on stream.me, and when the kill stream lets out, you can always tell because suddenly my chat gets flooded with people who want me to die, which I don't mind. They all like I've been on the internet since 1998. Like I grew up on somethingawful.com. Like I don't give a fuck, but it's like, oh, the kill stream got let out because it's suddenly full of Jew jokes. Like got it.
That's and see, the funny thing is, like, there's two ways to approach that, and one group of people has figured out the way to approach it, and it's just to laugh. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it other than just laugh? Roll with it and laugh. Or you can try and ban everybody on Earth from everything that they've ever done in their life, like because someone has said an offensive joke at some point. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much of an intersectional feminist or intersectional feminist you are. You have said some sort of horrific joke at some point.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, and get over it.
Fuck it.
And no, you don't have to. You don't have to apologize for it either. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh well, you better fucking grieve. But yeah, so I didn't get asked to be at MCFC. And we started looking at the artists who we knew who did get in. And so one thing about furries right now, community is really into polyamorous relationships, and people who were having sex with con staff because they were all fucking each other. They got in. Their art's not as good. They haven't been around as long, but they openly advertise like, "Hey, I'm having sex with this person, and this person's con staff. I'm in." I'm like, well, I don't want to fuck these people. They're atrocious.
Putting out
So
still pays, right? Like that's
yeah, but it's the new casting couch, and I'm like, well, this sucks. Really don't want to suck these gross furry dicks. To make like a couple.
You're sweaty inside that outfit, I bet.
They are. They are. I don't want to have to get down on my knees to make a couple K over the weekend. It looks like my publisher managed to get into MCFC after initially not making the cut, which they were the ones who got cut from Anthrocon, but I didn't. But they didn't make enough people didn't make it to the con that they were like on the wait list and they were one of the first in line. But it's like, why didn't they make the initial top percentage that got in? They're a long established name. They've been going to this con MCFC before it was even called that. So they've gone with its whole existence, and they're just cut, gone. We're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And we looked into it, and it was like, well, there's people who are having sex with, or just in relationships with con staff. And that seemed to be our most notable one. They all know each other. They all follow each other on Twitter. They all party together. They all banned me from chat rooms. So it's I understand a bit of favoritism. I understand, you got to shine some I don't know what the right expression I'm looking for is, but you gotta, you know, rub shoulders, be nice to people. But it's also, it seems like it's a war against meritocracy, which obviously in this right versus left conflict, we hear that brought up a lot. And it
Mhm.
just sucks because I think some of the people who are bringing their A game to the genre are getting cut in favor of people who adhere to the sort of furry lifestyle as opposed to actually making anything of note or merit, which that's not what I want. So
Right.
what someone does with that, I don't know. Uh, and you know, even by going on this stream tonight, there will be people who will listen to it, and I'm worried. It's like, am I gonna get blocked from more cons? Like, is this gonna affect my income? You know, I'm getting married. I've got me and my little family here to worry about.
Well,
But
we could have talked about, you know, we could have just, I don't know what we could have talked about. What it I hate never mind. I was going to ask what furries like to hear about, and now I realized that the error of that
no,
question,
you
and
don't want to know that.
we should avoid it.
Well, what I ran into was I saw a lot of people getting cut from the cons, and you can't really get a straight answer from the con. At least no one seems to be trusting that right now. And I was like, well, I've got some of this legal stuff with what MFF told me. I know Nick. Maybe I can do something about it. So I came to you. You seemed interested. So here I am. And you know, I've gotten your more legal advice on what to do with on whether what they were talking about with the discrimination stuff and letting pedophiles into cons or not, and that those silly things.
Yeah.
But I guess you've had a lot of creators on this stream, guys like Doug Tenapple and Ethan Van Sciver, who they're definitely on some convention blacklist because of their beliefs or what they've stood for in the past. And it
Right.
doesn't matter that they've created good work. How do those guys handle suddenly being on the outs of an industry that they've dedicated their lives to, or a genre that they've put everything into? Like, or what do you think is
Yeah.
the best option? You know, I know you're a lawyer, not an artist, but you've worked with a lot of these guys, talked with them, and they seem to be thriving amidst this sort of weird political turmoil.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a couple ways to go about it. There's a couple ways to
okay.
go about it. You've got Ethan Van Sciver, who he has a lot of luxury, right? He's been a DC artist who's very prominent and liked in the community for 20 years.
Yeah, he worked on Green Lantern for like the entire time I read it. Like,
Right, right. And many, I think almost all of the major DC properties except like Batman or something. I don't remember. There's like one he didn't do, but or Aquaman. I don't remember. There's one he didn't do anything for, but most of the others he did at least some work. And yeah, he did a ton of Green Lantern. So he had that. Plus he at the time he left, he had a fairly large YouTube channel because he was, you know, showing people how to draw and commenting
yeah,
about
yeah, I
Star
saw that.
Wars.
Yeah, it's comic artist pro secrets.
Right. And so he took that plus his incredible talent, plus
He's very
his
good at drawing. He's awesome.
right, plus his overall just general like from most of the community, and he added 1,000% of very likable but very real ego to it. And he is brazen and outspoken, and he's monetizing that. And the one thing you can tell
To the
about
nines. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, full on embraces it. And sure, I didn't ask to be leader, but I basically am. And so if you're gonna put that mantle on me, then I'm gonna act like it, right? And that's what he's done, and he has monetized it. And one thing you can say about Ethan, he works really hard, and he's one of the best salesmen I've ever seen.
no, I
What
met him a few years ago at Wizard World before all this happened, and he was just like, obviously I already knew his work, but he was just the most down to earth, normal guy. He was at the con with his son. They were both drawing. I would have never expected, like, oh, this would be the most controversial figure in comics. Like,
right?
what?
And it's I mean I think he's taken that mantle. But if you talk to him, and I mean I've talked to him a couple times, in various contexts, and what I get from Ethan is that he's like Michael Douglas in Falling Down, except just on Twitter. It's like he got
That's kind of an awesome way to be.
he lost his job, and so then he just he just got fed up with everything and started just talking. He lost his fear and he just went with it, and people gravitated towards that. Now you've got a different story in someone like Richard Meyer,
Yeah,
diversity in
Richard C. Meyer,
comics.
the Jawbreaker guy.
Right.
Diversity in comics.
He was very different. He tried that kind of brazen, funny, dark humor bit, and it didn't work. Actually, his fans are like, "You're not this guy. You're not funny like this. We don't really like this." So then he just went back and he reviews comics, and it's very basic, but he's just dead honest, right? He's just you trust his reviews because for some reason, something about his persona, you're just like, I believe what he says. I believe he believes what he says 100%. You don't get any falsity out of him. So then he goes to make his own comic. But again, he and Ethan, when they're making their own comics, which were both wildly, wildly successful.
They did very well. No, that was kind
Right.
of the thing that gave me hope. I saw them make money. I'm like, okay, me and the Vivid people, maybe we can survive this. Obviously, the furry community, very progressive. That was another thing when we were looking through con staff, just 100% politically all aligned with each other. And I'm more of a centrist, I guess you'd say. I don't like to say that because centrists are kind of, but
at least you know.
like,
at least you know.
Like, I'm aware. But I look at it and it's like, well, if the cons are all 100% like, because everybody just openly advertises this stuff. If they're all coming at this from the same angle, that's not good. I want the cons to be diverse and inclusive of all sorts of different types of thought, not just because it helps me, but because I think it leads to more interesting things that you can buy and peruse and books that you can read. I don't want just like, oh, here's another gay story by a progressive. Like, I've read all those. Trust me, they're all the
Right. Yeah. And the thing what Zach did was he just had Richard Meyer, your boy Zach. He had that I think he had that integrity capital, and that's what pulled his book through. So opposite of Ethan's book was put to massive success based on, and when I say ego, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. Not at all. I think it's to his credit the way he conducts himself, in all honesty.
He does all right. He's fighting fucking Mark Wade. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, so Ethan is like Billy Mays of comics.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He's just selling comics, and the thing that he did that was really smart, in my opinion, for his own benefit, was he was promoting other people's books constantly on his show. So he's promoting his book, he's promoting other people's books, and everybody who was going on his show for a while, every single book he was promoting was doing 25K or more, and a lot of these guys are first-time comic writers, right? And so he's propelling the community. I bet you still can. He still does it. He does it a little different now. But then, but Meyer didn't do that. Like, he wasn't self-promoting the book. He just had that integrity capital. It was very, very different. And then you've got Doug TenNapel, who just almost did 200,000 on Bigfoot Bill. And Doug has a whole different sort of thing going. One, Doug is absurdly established.
Obviously,
yeah, very, very successful. However, he's very outspoken about his views, and that kind of turns a lot of people off.
Sure, even I've had some trouble with it, like, because I'm like, whoa, Doug, calm the hell down there, buddy. But he's an older guy. I'll give him
it's well, here's the thing I know about Doug from my time spent with him.
Sure, you've had him on and everything, and I
stayed at his house, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, when I went down to Knoxville for the fight that wasn't, Doug, he lives outside of Nashville, and he heard I was flying into Nashville, and he said, "Hey, you can come out and stay at my house, and I'll make you dinner and breakfast and stuff like that." And so,
what a guy!
We had a very nice time. Me and my wife, we stayed at his house, and here's what I know about Doug.
Okay.
Honestly, you can't find a more. I shouldn't say you can't. You'd be hard pressed to find a person who will be more simultaneously honest and loving to you at the same time. I mean, he will tell you what his beliefs are, but he doesn't condemn someone else for having different beliefs. He just doesn't want to be condemned for having his. And there's a huge difference between just wanting to be able to hold your beliefs and express them, and also let other people express theirs and discuss them, and then saying, no, you can't have them. And that's where Doug gets wrapped up is, Doug's been in the art world a long time. He's got traditional views on heterosexuality and homosexuality. However,
As I say, he might not get along. He might not like my lifestyle, but I'm like, Doug, trust me, I'm harmless. Anyway.
But Doug has openly gay people on his show with regularity. He works with artists, and that doesn't. I mean, he might not agree with the principle behind it, but he also doesn't deperson them or think that they're less. And I don't think that he would even think that they're particularly wrong and that he's always right. I think he would consider them to be equally wrong as him in any given moment.
Oh, well, that's a good way of looking at it, and I can abide by that. You know, he's in my community, he's obviously he's like persona non grata. You can't like Doug Tenapple because Furry's very like, oh, everybody's gender queer, blah 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 blah. It's like, well, he's still a person,
right? Shockingly
much older than a lot of us. So yeah,
and so Doug, but he has a different sort of persona, and his book sells. One, because it's just really like the art in it is fantastic. The creativity behind
correct?
it.
That's his book, correct?
Yeah. And it's a different product than a lot of the other comics because it does have some overt sort of Christian themes and stuff like that to it.
Oh, does it?
Yes. You might not know just by looking at it, but when you kind of get into it and you get into the themes of it, this is an insult, Doug, and I don't mean it to be, but it's Christian themed in the way something like Evangelion is, where it borrows.
I love Evangelion, so don't worry.
Right, but Evangelion has no basis in Christian theology, but it borrows a lot of Christian symbolism.
Yes,
and I'm putting that on Bigfoot Bill, even though it does mix in a particular brand of Christian theology with it. But it's just heavy on the symbolism, and that's the part that shines through. I think that's part of what makes it work. It's also very creatively done, and he's just putting a lifetime of skill into it. But he's successful in a different way, right? He worked very hard on that campaign. He was drawing live, inking all the pages live for it, and it's something like a 90-page book, and he was on shows all the time promoting it wherever he could go. And he did it almost through a traditional marketing sort of strategy, but through new media. And there's just something charming about someone Doug's age doing it in the way he did. He did it really well. So what I want to, there isn't like a way to do it, I don't think, but there are many ways to do it. And but I think the basic rules apply, right? Is that one, it takes a ton of work to make a comic.
Oh, trust me, I know about that part.
Yeah. And then the other part, this is the part that that I always laugh when I get into an argument with someone on Twitter who's a quote unquote comic book artist with like 250 followers or whatever. And they're trying to tell me about marketing and stuff like that, which, great. But I'm arguing with this one guy, and I'm like, who was insulting his own customers. And I'm like, does that seem like a good way to sell your book? And he's like, that's not my job. That's the publisher's job. And
no, it's your job now, bitch. Like,
right. Today it's everybody's job. It's the janitor at your company's job, because if the janitor of your company comes out and starts mopping in swastika patterns, guess what? Your book doesn't sell anymore.
Kill him.
So but yeah, so the ultimate reality is that people are finding out that you can do this, you can do it and be very successful about it, but you are loading all of the stuff that a traditional publishing house has for you, and you're shouldering all that work. So the people who are doing it tend to be, in my opinion, for whatever reason, uniquely situated to take on that risk, where they're going to dump several months of nonstop work and promotion into something if they want to be successful. And the people who aren't, this is not a slight to them. some of them are not working as hard, and that's why they're not as successful. Like that's
Well,
the
sure.
bottom line. And a lot of people can't, right? Doug TenNapel has had a very successful career. He can take a risk and probably take an income hit for a little while he promotes a book to get it up to do $200,000, and that's a risk versus reward sort of question for him. Someone who's got a new wife, a 1-year-old, and a newborn in their house, and they're a mountain behind in debt, probably shouldn't kickstart their own comic right now.
People try that shit all the time.
They do, and they get mad when they don't succeed. And
they sure do. They sure do.
Yeah, it's but it's the same thing. If you gotta leverage your own skills to the maximum. You got to get better at them, whatever they are. I don't mean the art. Everybody gets focused on the art or the writing. That's the part that you're already good at. It's the marketing, and if you don't have those skills, then you gotta hook yourself up with people who will do that legwork for you. And that's what I think successful people who aren't good at the marketing aspect have done, is they've made friends with guys like Ethan Van Sciver who will promote their product. They've made friends. They'll ask to come on my show, and if we can match it into what some sort of theme of my show, I'm happy to promote their stuff too. So I don't think that I've done a ton for people or anything like that, but if nothing else,
for me.
Oh well, I good.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
No, it goes a long way. Like I said, I've got that reputation as the one good furry artist among like the Killstream crowd, and I'm like, yeah, that's a place I want to be.
I mean, it is a good. Right. It is a good place to. I mean, it's good if you have like you said, the furry community tends to appeal to a specific demographic, and they're not all there. Not everybody who goes to FurCon is a far left loony. Like they're just, the numbers alone would show that that's not going to be the case. So there's definitely room for it. And furry comics have been in mainstream a very, very long time. They just weren't called furry comics, right?
No,
anthropomorphic characters.
Anthropomorphics, yeah.
Bucky O'Hare, for example, was wildly popular in the 90s. And I mean, that's furry art, except I think furry art gets an automatic reputation of being animals having sex.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not even necessarily against that. I think it's funny, like,
Well,
but
yeah.
I was like, yeah, they're all a bunch of horny cartoon characters all the time. That's inherently comical to me, but because I think it's comical, I get in trouble. I'm like, just don't take it seriously. Calm the fuck down.
Well, that's what everybody needs to do all the time in all of life. Calm down. Just calm down. It's okay.
Calm down.
Laugh. We're all laughing. That's what you missed when you called all of us racist, hateful, bigots, whatever. We're all laughing. Why aren't you? TV Filthy Frank has a question for you. He said, what would Leonard French's fursona be?
Leonard French, who is that? I feel like I know that name. But...
He is a copyright attorney YouTuber who got popular during Gamergate. Which is
how I know that.
He's interesting because he is very much not on the right. He's openly gay. He is pretty liberal on a lot of subjects, but he's not a turd. So I think that works in his favor.
Well, I don't know what it would be. I'd have to take a look at him. I'd have to get an idea of how he talks and stuff. I tend to try to tie it into people's appearance and their values when I create a character for people. Because like I created like the hyena for Dick and all that stuff. And that was based on a number of different factors.
I'm glad that my character, my fursona, is one that would murder every other fursona.
A macaw. Yeah.
No, the Inquisitor.
Yeah, your fursona is just you in power armor. Surprise.
Right. But that's okay, because if I ran across an anthropomorphic hyena, it would be burned with a flamer immediately.
Oh, not if it was Dick. Be nice.
Well, yeah, I guess Inquisitors do have the liberty to keep the one, like, for if you're a little bit radical, you can keep like the one furry around while burning all of the others to the ground, right? Like that's.
Well, thank you. That's usually my place in that ecosystem, for whatever reason. I forgot to mention this was another funny thing that happened because of this. Was after so this was at MFF. This and I can only talk about this as hearsay because it was just something I saw. But I had a table at MFF. My publisher did as well, Vivid, and the staff stopped by for charity donations from me because you donate artwork to the charity auction. They sell it, make money, and they stopped by, grabbed stuff from me. That was cool. Uh, they leave my table. Next table over is Vivid. They just pass right by there. Don't ask them for anything. I'm like, man, they're so evil. They're not even allowed to give money to charity. Like,
Yeah, well, just like the kill stream, right?
oh man, I didn't even think about that comparison, but it's I guess if people could take what I'm saying, a lot of it here is conspiratorial, or you're drawing a lot of correlations, or you're just implying things, but there's been so many different things, and all within the span of a few months, that am I being paranoid at that point when there's just that many coincidences, or am I seeing a larger trend?
No, I think you definitely are. I think you're
And
definitely like it's we have to get past this idea that there's one, we shouldn't call it a conspiracy because it's not a coordinated effort. It doesn't and this is what let's take
oh,
it out of this context and let's put it into how this was done in business to get where we are today with these massive corporations who have so much control. And like 10 years ago, I would never have said these words. It's so crazy to see how this has played out. But
it's
this started with cable and telephone companies.
weird.
And when cable and telephone companies obviously coordinate on where they're
Sure.
going to have markets because you have one cable company in something like 80% of American markets, maybe two. You have one cable company, then you have Dish and DirecTV because Dish and DirecTV can be everywhere. But places where you have two or God help you, three cable companies in the same available at the same address is absurd.
Or even internet service providers, ISPs. Like, it's very rare to have that many. Like,
Right. And so it's obvious to anybody that of course these guys have come to some sort of arrangement. We're not going to go into your place, you're not going to come into ours. They actually sued. It was Bell South versus Twombly, I think was the case. And they said, look, there's obviously a coordinated effort to keep competition, to not compete. They agreed not to compete. You can't find at the time it was phone carriers or whatever, two phone carriers in the same place. You're stuck with whoever's there, and the other one just won't come in. And this is wrong. It's a bad business practice. And the court dismissed the case and said, yeah, but prove that they talked about it and prove that it wasn't just an obvious business decision to not compete. And that's how we got there. So the way the court looked at it is this wasn't a conspiracy, although I think it largely probably was. But even so, there's this general idea that you don't need people to agree when you have a mutuality of intention. You can figure it out without the communication, right? Like you can just say, obviously, it's best if I don't go into their business because they're not coming into mine. And so in these communities, I don't think it's a conspiracy that that one particular political ideology or even a perceived political ideology is being thrown out and ruled out. Everyone just agrees that it should, and no one is challenging it from within their circles. And
because I feel like if it is indeed what we might think, well, one of these things that I think it is, it's like, do they even think to challenge it, or is it just like, oh, you just do that on principle?
right, absolutely, and then it eventually it creates this chilling effect because you watch the guy next to you get ignored or hauled away or whatever, and you think, if I'm just
Well, I don't want that
quiet,
to be me.
right? If I'm just quiet, they won't know that I'm just like them, right? I just
No,
won't
I've
talk.
definitely seen that exact thing happen where people are like, listen, I believe the same thing, but I don't talk about it. And I can understand why. Like, when you're working on limited margins, you don't want to hurt your income, but
Yeah,
I
a
feel
lot of
like
these guys
something's got to
can't.
give.
Well, in the way, in my opinion, the way these things work is it's one of two things happens, which is a very safe answer. Pendulum stops and then starts to swing back the other way, or everything just falls apart. Like the pendulum swings too far and the lever arm breaks and it just falls to the ground. And that's when, there's complete burn down in the community. There's a giant rift, and then people, I don't know, throw fake teeth at each other. I don't know what furries fight with. But something gives, and it's dramatic at that point, and the community tends to be somewhat destroyed. That's a fast game, but the long game is what tends to happen, I think, and the pendulum will just slowly swing back the other way. But
In the interim, guys like me just got to survive. Great.
Yeah, unfortunately, those long time frames are usually careers long, and you can see it because these guys like Ethan Van Sciver, like Doug TenNapel, the pendulum was already swinging this way 2 decades ago.
Oh, you think so?
Oh yeah, well, it takes a while to get ubiquity of thought in a community, right? Like even within Marvel, imagine how long it takes to get only liberals or left-leaning people. I don't like the, you know what I mean? People of a particular left-leaning position. Think how long it takes to replace all of the decision makers or the overwhelming majority in a company as big as Marvel. Like how long that takes to get to the point where you won't even have a guy saying, "Now wait a minute."
Yeah, I've heard it called replacement theory.
Yeah, it just takes a very long time. And then, as a company like Marvel, as the pendulum starts to stop because they stop making money, things turn around financially for them, and then they'll have to start replacing people with who they've got with competent people. And competent people, or at least game-changing people, will be people with a different ideology and maybe even a different political ideology. And then they'll start replacing other people who are failing with people that they agree with and align with, that they've networked with over the past several years. And it starts to go the other way. It's just a long process back and forth. So yeah, I think there's plenty of evidence that comics were running to the left through the 90s and early 2000s, and that it caught up to guys like Ethan Van Sciver with a perfect storm of getting there, and then having someone so inflammatory as Trump to be that trigger point where Ethan says, "Yeah, I voted for Trump," and then suddenly everybody's like, "Well, you don't get a job anymore."
Yeah, people want to kill him over that. And it's like, well, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Like, let's chill the fuck out here. Like, a lot of people vote, so it's okay. Yeah, and I guess in just what ended up being a largely LGBTQ community, the furry community, it ended up getting very strange very quickly. Like, this was not how the convention circuit was even 3 years ago. It's gotten very weird very fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see if they're on a pendulum or a wrecking ball, right?
Like, yeah, I mean, I thought the Zeusatis thing might be the wrecking ball, but man, they like, no con staff wanted to talk about that. CNN ran a very pro furry report like that same weekend that it happened. It was just like, oh, this didn't happen.
If CNN is like, pro furry, then I'm opposed to furries automatically.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, they had like, it was some program with Lisa Ling where they do like subcultures and stuff, and they had a furry episode like that week. And it was, it was another nice PR piece for the community, which back in the day I would have been all about, because it's like, cool, bring people into this neat little genre. And now it's like, it just feels like they're covering up for some bad hombres, as we say.
Yeah, and it's like some of those bad hombres have made their way up to some really, I'm going to say powerful positions, but they aren't. They aren't traditionally powerful positions, and that's the weird thing. I think
they are though, in that they have power over these conventions where guys like me, like, that is our impede outside of the internet.
Well, but I'm talking about different people. I'm talking about Google, right? Like,
oh yeah,
Google, Discord, where you don't have to be a CEO or you don't have to be an executive at Google to have a massive amount of power. You start to learn this. Like there's that Liz Fong Jones, the people who were really against Damore, the amount of power that they wield by being just strategically placed in the search engine programming unit. And for example, purging the search engine programming unit of anyone who's conservative. Like that team, from what I heard, was absurdly singularly focused in a particular political ideology, right? Like,
Yes.
So what happens if only leftists are writing search algorithms? Well, then you get a leftist search algorithm. There's no way to avoid it, because the way you write an algorithm is you write it to mimic a human thought. And if everybody on a team thinks the same way about things, then the search algorithm is going to perform in the way that the people who wrote it perform. And you can, and then I think my conspiracy theory is that there's direct tampering with the search algorithm, and you can see it. I think I'm a victim of it because I covered the Damore case, and I know that people at Google were looking at my YouTube channel, looking at my bar. Oh, they were looking at my bar registration. I had several software engineers actually show me the direct messages from the internal Google Plus, talking about reporting me to the bar, asking if I was a real lawyer.
Wow, you troublemaker, you.
Yeah. So, but if you go and you search for me on Google, and it's only Google, it's not any other search engine you can find, only a Google or a Google-powered search engine, you will see that there's the top results on the video page for me is a very unflattering video that's not by me, that is a whopping like 1,800 views. And
Who
I've
made
had
it?
Someone from Pod Awful. Do you know Pod Awful?
Oh, those fucks. Yeah. Oh man.
So
guys,
it's
the Maddox boys. Yeah.
Right. So they made that video, and somehow, even though I've had videos with hundreds of thousands, with well over 100,000 views, and I've had other videos that have been shared on multiple Reddits on subjects like Taylor Swift and stuff like that, none of those videos have beaten out that video only on Google.
That's okay.
But if you go to Bing, if you go to DuckDuckGo, if you go to any other search engine, that video is properly like 8 pages in, where it belongs in regards to interaction and stuff like that. Like if that video had 1 million views, I would absolutely understand where it is, but it doesn't. And none of my high view videos do, by the way. None of them are at the top of Google.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's just typing in Rekieta.
Their
law.
SEO is really weird.
I think they intentionally break their SEO, and there are several people who have spoken out against Google who will have a very similar story, where inexplicably the top result for them on like the picture or video or a top article talking about them is some hit piece that was done and is very obscure. I wish I had better examples of it. I don't off the top of my head, but there's a guy who...
You've got yourself. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I tried to not believe it. I tried to not believe it for a long time, but I did a lot to try and... Because I don't really do SEO that much. I mean, I put in tags that I think are good. I put in a title I think that works, and then I tweet it out, and that's it. If people share it on Reddit and stuff, that's great. I love that. But I don't do a bunch of work like that. But there was a while where I did with videos. I was cross-posting it on all these different things and trying to do all the back. I talked to 3 different SEO experts who do that for a living, and all of them told me different things to try, and not one of them worked. So as far as the Google results, every other result, it worked just fine. So
great. Oh, okay. Boy, there's a lot of stuff going against us. Oh boy, fun.
Yeah.
Good odds.
Here, let me read a couple more chats here. Alex Chavez says, watched your live stream yesterday, was blown away by your understanding of the law. Gadam, will law school really teach me all that, or does it come with experience? I mean, law school will teach you a little bit, but you know, you've got to talk to the right people. You've got to learn from the right people, and you've got to choose your mentors wisely. How's that? In anything.
Hey, Nick, while you read these, Nick, while you read these, can I take a quick whiz? I gotta.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'll be right back.
Okay, Rax the Hero says, hilarious how a guy like Yanku Prod, who only has any, quote, fame online by illegally leaking manga through forums and fan sites, is trying to now wage morals you after he tried to claim the guy was scamming people without realizing you're a lawyer. 10 out of 10 think. Yeah, that guy, it's getting worse for him with every tweet. So good job to him. Seth says, if there was a group to exterminate us, furries. There you go. Bagel Goose says, can't ban pedos if maps become a protected class. That would be one of the most unfortunate things I can think of. We really need to be very careful about that. Because then you have stuff like, oh, you're profiling policing. It's like, nope, we're protecting kids. And that needs to be a thing. Logan Michael says, when do you think SJWs will fade away? It's going to be a while. I think they're getting less powerful, but. Bagel Goose says, Clay Early's birthday is in 4 days. Everyone wish him a happy early birthday. Happy early birthday, Clay Early. Pony Cordero. Oh, that was Clay went to Western Michigan. Thank you for that. Siren Jag says, okay, who double booked the furries and the Taxidermist Society in the same convention hall? Danny Agent 87. Inquisitor Nick needs to create his own comic book. I'm actually kind of supposed to. And my artist friend is really probably mad that I haven't just written the script for it yet. Naruto Martin says, thanks for helping Vic. I messaged you different account to start a GoFundMe, but didn't know you were going. So I'd like to transfer funds to you. IDM Twitter. Yes, I saw your DM on Twitter. And as soon as I have the information for the account, I will see what we can do about transferring those funds appropriately. Okay. Hey, welcome back. I got a few more to read.
No, that's fine. That's why I waited for you to do this. I figured if there's any, I think there was one for me at some point. I think I saw it in the chat. So
there's one coming up, I think.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay, GRP poll says, let's get Vic fully lawyered up. Guys, I can't disclose the law firm that Vic is using yet. I know what? Oh, the business law firm.
I just think that's so funny. Like
the business law firm. That's Maddox. Maddox briefly hired the business law firm.
It makes me laugh every time. Like it shouldn't, but it does.
It's great. So no, it is not the business law firm. I do know who they are, and as soon as it is public, I will let you guys know who they are. But there are various reasons that they're not public yet. What I can tell you about that firm is that Vic is in some of the best possible hands that is out there. He is in the hands of a firm who is capable and who is not going to how do I put this? Some lawyers move in very predictable and traditional ways, and sometimes that's very, very good. And then there's cases like Vic's, where your life is being destroyed by the minute, and you have to react in a very different way. He is in the hands of a firm that can react in whatever way is necessary to get the best chance of getting him whatever results they're after. So they're good. They're good people, and I can tell you with confidence that if Vic has a shot, they're going to give that every single opportunity. So more will come out when it's all public, and I will happily report on it. Sure. This one's for you. Gravedigger says, what fursona would you give Sargon of Akkad or Count Dankula?
I did draw Count Dankula's pug, the Nazi pug, which he did see, and he liked that. That was pretty fun. I feel like he'd have to be a pug as well, just to keep with the lore. Sargon? God. Carl, let's see. He's kind of a big guy, beard. He's English. Maybe he'd be like a dragon, like a bearded dragon or something.
What about like a bearded panda or something?
I always said Maddox would be a panda because he's too stupid. Because he's too stupid to fuck to save himself.
Right, he's too stupid to breed. You gotta trick him into it.
Yeah, that was always my joke. I've never gotten to draw that though.
Hmm.
I still, I know Sargon's kind of in the foul camp. I still kind of like him just because I feel like he's the guy in my corner. But I know he's kind of screwed up some stuff. So
I don't actually have like I know a lot of people don't like Sargon. I mean, I'm mildly annoyed that he asked me to DM and email him about coming on my show and he never responded. That just
ooh.
bothers me cuz like if you don't want to come on my show or you don't think my show's big enough, just say it. I don't care. I'm a big boy.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can
you've
handle
always been
that.
so good about getting back to me. You and Dick and Aster, like everybody from kind of the TDS realm of the internet has always been like really nice to me. I'm just like, oh, this is cool because no one in furry ever gets back to me, and I'm like, these guys are all bigger than all you assholes. So like, calm
One
down.
One thing I think has done very well for Dick and Asterios, and it's something that I learned from Dick and tried to emulate, is the times I've met Dick and the times I've talked to him on Twitter and stuff. I've never got the impression that Dick felt he was too important to answer somebody.
No,
Um,
no.
and I
He
get the
gets back to
same.
my emails in like a minute. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, and I know Asterios when he's on social media is usually very responsive as well. And the times that I've like he put his phone number up on Twitter for texts, and
Oh, I still text him. That's great.
yeah, and he answers texts. They're very responsive. I try and do that too, sometimes to the chagrin of Lady Rackets, but I think it's just a good thing to be engaged with the people who are interested in talking to you. And so I try and be good about that. And if I don't get back to you, especially in the past couple days, guys, my DMs are a hellhole of just flooded content. My emails as well, from the GoFundMe, which will not turn off email notifications for some
Oh,
reason. So if I don't get back to you, do not feel bad to follow up with me. I will try. That's one thing I will say. I try to get back to every message that isn't absolutely ridiculous, and I get very very few of those. So but it's something that I try and do, and I think I learned that from Dick when I messaged him and he was responsive. And guys like Ralph from the Ralph Retort they've always talked to me when I talk to them. So that's what I try and
that's
do.
my next goal is to get on the kill stream and talk about furry conventions. Then I'll really be in the doghouse.
You want me to? I'll tell Ralph that you want to get on there. I'll
Oh,
pass.
please do. Please
Yeah,
do.
I'll
I'd love
pass.
to. I listen to them all the time.
I'll
Oh,
pass it
thank you.
on.
That'd mean the world to me. It would go well for my. It actually, like, it sounds weird, but it would do very well for my business.
No, I think so. Because again, there is no group anywhere, even on there are liberals who watch the kill stream.
Yeah.
There is no ubiquitous group. There's always a market. So of course, yeah, and I'd be happy to pass it along. I think
Thank you.
I think they love to talk about that type of stuff too. Anon donated. I don't know who this is. It says, as an adult baby, I have always found the furry community cringeworthy as F. It seems they are always the one taking the kink to the extreme levels. I got banned from a baby fur IRC channel back in early 2000s for calling out pedo role play. Weird.
Man, even the adult babies, even they think we're a bunch of idiots. Get your act together, furries. The adult babies are calling you out.
Akazit says, using Google in Hong Kong, Nick Rekieta has videos by Doug Tenaple, Senpai's Home, Sweetcast, but not you. Searching Rekieta Law features your channel first, but still the pot awful video. DuckDuckGo, on the other hand, the results make perfect sense. Yep, and that's the evidence I've got. I mean, I can't get any more. I've tried to get a connection through some of the software engineers at Google when they were still talking to me and I was still covering the Damore suit. By the way, everyone who talked to me was universally terrified and very clear that please do not mention their names, because the mere act of talking to me or anyone else in favor of Damore, they feared to be fired immediately. And that
I
was...
think we're seeing the same thing on a smaller scale in all these different genres, furry included, where it's like, hey, people come to me all the time saying like, hey, you can't say my name, but thanks for talking about this, or please bring this up, but don't say my name. Like that's that's kind of why I did this, because I was like, well, I guess I'll do it.
Okay, hold on. I just realized Sargon. What is white and black? That's what he's got to be, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's
he's got to be a zebra or something,
or a penguin, or a
yeah.
ferret. The character I use is a ferret. He could be another. He could be a fellow mustelid. How about that? I don't know.
He's got to be
badger.
He's got to be like he's got to be an albino version. He's got to be an albino gorilla, I think, or something.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Right? Like, that's what it's got to be. Something that's on the down low, absurdly offensive.
Yeah,
but
he kind of likes that, though. He kind of likes that.
And I think it would fit along with his extremely controversial comments. That's what we're going for. You always have to tease the line with your controversy. So
that's what I do with the Count Dankula pug. That's become one of my most people won't comment on it on the internet, but it's one of my highest selling prints at cons. Everybody loves the Nazi pug. Like,
yeah. Oh, and the Nazi pug. Let me just briefly say, it's one of the funniest stupid things. It's one of those. If that would have come up in 2002, I mean, those were like the type of videos that made YouTube.
Well, I mean, it was exactly the type of content you'd see on Jackass, and then everybody acted like it was horrible. I'm like, you all saw this on MTV a few years ago. Fuck off.
Someone says Black Dragon like his Second Life character, Nick.
I thought that was V.
Okay, so next is Clay Early says, Nick, 30K plus subs, drink. Yeah, thank you. By the way, Drexel should be coming on. I think he's coming to my house in the next day or two. So hopefully either Friday or Saturday, Drexel will be on for my 15,000 subscriber celebration.
Who's Drexel? I don't know that name offhand.
Are you aware that there is a picture of me in blackface?
I do know about that. Yeah, don't worry. I'm a TDS listener on the regular.
Yes.
I've seen the picture and I was like, oh, whatever.
Right. So Drexel, the story behind that picture is, of course, I had a very small get together at my house on Halloween. We watched Jackhammer Massacre, which was a terrible movie. Had some good food.
Subtle.
Had some good food and good laughs, and watched some bad campy horror movies. One of the people there was my very, very good friend, who I've been friends with for 20 plus years now.
Oh, cool.
Drexel. He's a very large black man. He's about 6'8" and about 260, 270 pounds of muscle.
Okay.
And the joke was, I'm 6'2", and I'm about 190 now. But at the time of the picture, I was about 160, 165. And so this guy outweighs me by 80 to 100 pounds, and he's taller than me. So I borrowed some of his clothes, and I borrowed like a Nike headband that he would wear when he played basketball. And I bought like a $3 afro and like a cheap tube of face paint from Walmart. So my costume cost like $6.
Yeah,
and,
sounds great.
And so I dressed up as him and invited him over to the Halloween party. And so then my wife answered the door, and then I came downstairs, and that was the joke, is I'm this scrawny, shorter version of this much bigger guy, and I'm wearing like his outfit. Oh, it was perfect. So that was the gimmick of the picture. So he's been my friend for a very long time. And I had him on at 10,000 subscribers, and he promised to come on at 15, although we live a couple hours away, and he has a job and a kid, and so coordinating a time to do a show together is very difficult. But he promised to come on at 15,000 subsubscribers. Well, now we've blown.
Oh boy, he's got to do 2 shows now.
Yeah. So he's gonna come on again. Last time was a laugh riot, nonstop laugh riot. He has some great ideas about life, and a very different perspective on life than I do. So because he is
cool.
he's a single guy, and he has different interactions with women than I do. My interactions with women have nothing to do with anything. He is a guy who is
Married,
facing
yeah.
right. He's a guy who is facing a constant threat of Me Too, and he is a guy who has seen many of his friends go to prison for being Me Too'd, like being.
Oh, it happened to one of my friends. It happened to one of my friend's dads in college. It was horrible.
Yeah,
What
it's
happened to this guy?
It's nuts, and it's a completely different environment.
Ruined her whole life, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how you do it these days. But so he and I talked, and last time, the subject span can be anything. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But it's always great to have him on because he always laughs that picture from like 15 years ago still comes up, and people still try and make it. And he really likes it when people try to tell him he should be offended by it. White
Nick,
people especially.
Nick, are you saying that picture is being taken out of context? I would never. That never. God,
yeah,
I am on a alt-right stream.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what context you take. Even if you want to take it in the worst context, so what? The person who was the target of the joke laughed hysterically and still does. So I don't care because
picture from how many years ago was it? Stu?
Like 15
oh
years
well,
ago.
People are dying because of it.
Yeah, and so it was never meant.
Hate crimes you're responsible for.
It was never meant to be public, but it is now, and you just deal with it. So what do you do? There's no undoing it.
Grovel.
There's no amount of groveling. I know. I will never apologize.
Good. I want more people to not apologize because it's meaningless most of the time anyway.
Oh, of course. No one means it. Think the governor of Virginia apologizes for his picture 30 years ago? Of course not.
No.
and if he does, he's lying. Okay. Hurry up and wait says, in the grim weirdness of the 22nd century, there is only cringe.
Yeah. Oh no, is my picture cringe? If I haven't voted cringe, I thought it was cool.
No. Your picture's very cool. Don't let anybody change your mind on that. Bagel Goose says,
right, chat.
Bagel Goose says, what do furries and taxidermists have in common? They both stuff animals.
So you say that is like they're separate, but almost at Anthrocon, almost every year there's at least one taxidermy booth, and it's always really weird.
Oh.
There's like one person who's just a little too into taxidermy. You're like, this is not the right convention for that.
That's awkward. Now,
it's very awkward.
Are they like preserving a favored pet? I don't even actually know. I watched enough or I read enough about the zoosadists that I don't want to know. Never mind.
I pointed out in chat, but I like that you call them the zoosadists. Like,
is it just zoosadists?
Yeah, it's just zoosadist, but I don't know. I kind of like saying zoosadist. It makes it less bad to think about.
Yeah, well, I'm going with zoosadist. I like it.
Okay, good.
I put a third O in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
zoosadists.
If you take it the wrong way, that's the bad O. That's the O that they add. Chris the Bliss from the Philippines with love. Let's teach these SJWs what for. We're international. B asterisk 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 asterisk. Yeah, we are. We are.
Wait, what is that? What does any of that mean?
It's just we're international. The show and the fans are international.
Okay.
I think that's where we're going.
Okay, gotcha. I was like, what does any of that mean?
And then finally, Seth says, I'm afraid Vic will get empathetic when he starts breaking people and not give them what they deserve. I hope he ruins a few people. Exterminatus SJW. Let me comment on that because there's as an attorney, you're always acting. You have a conflicting interest, and this is really interesting. Not a conflict of interest. You have conflicting interests in representation, okay? One is you represent your client in the way that you think is best. Two, you're always subject to the direction of your client because they're paying your bills or paying the bill. Hopefully they're paying the bill, and you're representing their wishes. So, however, when you have a client who doesn't want to do something and you know it's the best course of action, you have this conflict, and sometimes it involves some very tense and troubling discussions. But at the end of the day, you hire a lawyer to represent you, to do the things that you can't, because they have a perspective that is disinterested, or supposed to be disinterested, or even if it's not disinterested, it's interested but in a different thing than you. And so you have a representative who is coming into this with a different perspective than you, who is wrapped up in, oh, how does this make me look? Well, here's the reality. Here's the reality about Vic. And let me be very clear. I mean, no ill will or disrespect towards Vic. I think he's going through a very bad situation. And from what I read about him, he tries to be an exceptionally nice guy. That said, Vic's handling of his person has gotten him to where he is. Now, I would say that a lot of the stuff that has happened to him is false and ginned up, of course, but there are real experiences of some sort that people are having that are not nefarious, like that he was rude at some point or that he was mean to a staffer at a convention. And I really think that is the driving stuff behind what's going on. I think that propagates into these maybe ginned up stories, for sure. That if you piss off enough people, you'll piss off people who will start making things up or adopting things that are made up because they're like, oh, he's mean, so that must mean he assaulted someone.
I think one of my fans approached you with that line of logic, and I was like, God damn it. But go on.
And that's okay. Here's the reality is that for better or worse, wherever someone is in life, this isn't limited to Vic. Whenever they're in a bad situation, that's a product of their choices to some amount. So you bring in someone who is corrective, and sometimes you don't like what they have to do, but you hire a person because they do what you aren't doing. So whether or not Vic will start breaking people, I don't think it'll ever be on Vic's shoulders that he is breaking people. From anyone who understands, if someone is broken, it will be by his law firm because that's their job. I was talking to, brief side story, I was talking to a criminal defense attorney who he's like a 30-year defense attorney, and pretty much all he did in greater central and western Minnesota was sex offender cases. So he's defending people accused of these crimes. Now, here's the reality: is some people are innocent of this.
Of course,
right?
No, of course. I just imagine that's got to be tough.
It takes a special kind of person to do those cases all the time. But they're very lucrative because I tell you what, if you're accused of rape, you will pay $50,000 to an attorney to not be convicted.
Yeah, I fucking would. I'd do anything to not be accused of that. Yeah.
Right. So here's the deal. I was talking to him, and he had just gotten 7 straight acquittals, all in sex offense cases, And in the most recent one, and he had indicated that this is similar to several other ones, but in the most recent one, he was telling me the story, and he said, what I had to do is we knew the victim was lying. We knew it. We could prove it. And we tried to get the DA to back off, and they wouldn't. So what we had to do was bring the victim on the witness stand, and he had to take a 16-year-old girl and rip her apart in front of a jury, which is
that's a fun weekend.
Yeah, he had to show repeatedly with hard evidence that this girl was lying about the encounter.
But I mean, if she's lying, yeah, fuck her. Like, she's trying to ruin someone's life.
Don't. That's what the guy was charged with. No,
right. Sorry, wrong.
I'm kidding. Of course. No.
Oh God.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and it's really hard to do. Juries don't like it. Juries don't want you to take a child and to just make them cry and show them to be a liar on the stand. They don't like it. But and most people can't do it. But this guy could, and that's why he's the guy that people hired. That's why his retainer is 30 something thousand dollars just for the initial retainer for those types of cases, is because he could do that. He could take someone apart on the stand, and he's the difference between you going to prison and being on a registry forever and you being innocent. And
Yeah.
and so, you know, like I said, the firm that Vic has is capable and competent to rip people apart if they need to. They're capable and competent to negotiate a settlement quietly if they're able to.
So
And
I don't want to get too into like your opinion on this because I don't know how much you can say, but it seems like you're pretty firmly in Vic's corner on this one, or are you just
oh,
trying to
I'm
stay
no, I'm
neutral?
100% in Vic's corner.
Or...
And
Okay, okay. I didn't want to make you say anything
and
bad.
I'll no, someone mentioned to me, or someone asked me if all of this went through, if they went to court and it came out that Vic had whatchamacallit, had done some of this stuff and that they weren't lying about him and he deserved to be thrown out. They said, would you apologize for asking people to help him? Would you apologize for standing up for him? No, not a chance would I apologize for that. And here's why. At this point, that man has never been able to face his accusers. He has never been given even a hearing on what he did. So at this point, what they have done, even if it's right, is wrong. Does that make sense? Does that make
No,
sense?
I get no. From where you're coming with the information you have, you're in the moral right. No, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
And now I mean, I also have the luxury of I do believe him more than I believe them. And that's based on a lot of stuff. And part of their problem is that they have flooded the narrative with so many stories, all of them sounding really similar, and none of them being, you know what, I was passed out and I woke up and I had been raped. Not one of those stories. Not a story of I was sitting on the couch next to him and he stuck his hand into my underwear and started to not a single story like that. It's he put his hand on my thigh and I didn't like it. He kissed me and it made me uncomfortable. And it's like, okay, well, a guy trying to date someone who thinks that he's got, you know, that things are going well, might try and kiss someone and it might be uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that the guy's a predator. It doesn't mean that he's an offender. So even if a lot of these things happened, I don't think they rise to the level of destroying someone's career. And I can be certain, just based on my own personal experience with dealing with accusers and accused, that there's one side being accepted whole cloth in all of these stories, and no story is ever one side, ever.
No,
So,
it's not.
so no, I stand by him. I am 100% biased in him. I consider myself an advocate at this point, and this is a hard thing. And if people don't like get this, I don't. That's okay. You can disagree with me. I don't think a lot of people in here do, but someone watching later, you can disagree. That's okay. I'm a defense attorney. I deal with people who are rightfully and wrongfully accused, and even rightfully accused people get to face their accuser. They get to have their side of the story, and then they get to have the merit of an objective third party who is removed from anything say, no, you know what? That's right or that's wrong. This guy has never gotten that. And if my help gets him the opportunity to do that, then I've succeeded. I've succeeded in my oath as an attorney. So that's
Damn, you're a principled man there. No, and I think you make good points, and you're so much nicer on stream than you are on Twitter. On Twitter, you're a bit of a firecracker. You'll really lay into people, but like when you talk face to face, you're very well, I wouldn't say you're unreasonable on Twitter, but man, you will fire back. But I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, I have no hesitation lighting someone up on Twitter. That's
I've noticed. I'm like, I'm really glad I'm not this guy's enemy. That would suck. Not be good for me. Like,
it's really easy to not be my enemy. Don't lie about me. That's it. You can disagree with me all day. That's it. Just
I'm
don't.
kind of in the same corner where it's like, just don't make shit up. Like, come on.
Yeah, that please just if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. That's all I got.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at with this whole situation with the conventions and other people within this whole genre, where I'm just like, just talk to me or my publisher or anybody, but they won't. They'll just kind of, it's all smoke and mirrors and stuff happening behind closed doors. And I think the issue with that is that they have 100% deniability, where they're just like, oh, well, you just, like I said, you just don't make the cut, or you're just crazy, or you're just paranoid, which, you could call that gaslighting if you wanted to, but it'll start to wear on you, that's for sure, especially when your entire livelihood you've built up for a decade is at stake.
Yeah. Oh, it's only reasonable if that doesn't eventually eat at you, especially when it's your money. And this is the difference between everything.
It didn't get to me that much until they came for my money, man. Like, once it started to hit my bottom line, I was like, oh, I'm going all in. I'm getting Nick on the horn. Like,
well, yeah. I mean, people make fun of me on Twitter. I don't care. People,
yeah, sure. Go for it.
People disagree. That's fine. You start coming after my channel. You start coming after my law license. You better be ready. You better be ready to fight that fight, because right now. My channel is supplementing my legal income. It is doing very well. And
no kidding.
And like, so if you start coming after that, you bet I'm gonna fight. I have children to feed. Oh man, I wanted to talk about this with Doug and Ethan and all those guys when we were talking earlier. The last night of Doug's Bigfoot Bill campaign. This is where, if you can find this video, I think it's really powerful and worth a watch. It's like an 8-hour or 7-hour live stream that Ethan did, but it's the last like hour to an hour and a half that's important. Mm-hmm. He had this guy on that runs Dallas comic conventions. He organizes Dallas comic conventions. He's been friends with Ethan Van Sciver for a long time, and he's still friends with him even though they're politically the opposite, right? And so but
it's
this
okay.
guy, yeah, it's just fine. But this guy, he's got pressure from people because he still associates and talks with some of these guys. But I was trying to explain to him. He's like, well, why is it that people on the right are so reactionary and stuff? And I was trying to tell him, I'm like, man, you don't understand that when we stand up for our religion, our basic faith, for example, that we risk our jobs nowadays. Whereas if there's someone on the left who stands up for whatever belief system qualifies, whatever thing qualifies as their religion or their idol, because
everybody has one. Everybody has one.
Everyone has their gods, whatever they are. So whatever their gods are acceptable, and if you don't like them, well, just too bad. But Doug's gods are not. And it stemmed from a conversation that was had like the day before, where one of Doug's friends was on the stream with him, and someone said, should Doug be allowed to work in comics and still hold his Christian views?
No, let's kill him.
This guy has been Doug's friend forever, has said, I don't know.
What?
The answer to that question is obviously yes. Obviously, yes, he should be able to work. Now, people might not buy his work, and that might be a consequence, but of course he should be able to work. So as long as he is profitable, he should be able to do business. But this guy couldn't even answer that question. So then I'm expressing, yeah, it's nuts. So I'm expressing this guy. I'm like, no, look, you don't understand. Like, I have 5 kids to feed, and the fact that a bank might shut down my account if I talk to the wrong person is nuts. And then Doug started, I think he'd had a few drinks at that point. He started talking to the guy and he got very, very choked up and emotional. And it was, he said, he's like, this is my religion that I have had for my whole life. I treat people with dignity and respect, but people want to take away my ability to have a home and to feed my family just because of my belief system. And that is sick and perverted and wrong. And it's very true. And I would strongly suggest, just because we were talking about what makes people successful. And I think one of the things about Doug that I failed to mention is that he is just so dang genuine. That when he was talking about that, like, you felt it. You felt his passion about that and how much it means to him, not only to have the job that he does, but also to be able to, as he has, do it with his faith. And seeing that go away is a real tragedy. So,
in John Ronson's 2015 book, So You've Been Publicly Shamed, he wrote about public shaming on the internet over things like this. And he wrote, it's like, these people, they legally can't kill you, but that's what they want to do, so they go for the next best thing.
Who wrote this?
John Ronson. He's my
Ronson.
favorite journalist. John Ronson.
I thought you said John Radson.
No.
That was my constitutional law professor. So it's
no, this is
really
all Englishman. This is a little Englishman investigative journalist who's a very brave man, but yeah, he wrote that, and it's stuck with me for the last 4 years. And I was like, the more I see it, the more I believe it. Is like, these people, they can't, they're not allowed by the law to physically hurt you, but they want to. And since they can't, they go for the next best thing. And I don't know, in some of these cases, like, yeah, I'd rather get punched in the face than not get a table at some of these conventions. Like, that hurts. Like, I can shrug off a punch. But
what's worse than killing someone? I mean, what's more effective than killing someone? And the reason that political executions and stuff don't happen, it's much more effective and much more terrifying to take away someone's money and to remove them from the public space, but for everyone to know that they're still alive.
It's humiliating, and it drives you nuts, man.
Yep.
Sucks.
That's that is far more effective, in my opinion, than just flat out, hanging someone. Now, I mean, I would rather be unpersoned than hung. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the societal effectiveness of the tactic is crazy.
It works very well. No, it does.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm worried that guys like me and Vivid and the people who work for us, that we're just seeing the beginning of that in our genre. And it's because this has only happened this year. We thought we'd evaded the worst of the political shit because, 2016 passed. It's getting better. I wanted to say that at the beginning of the year, but it's gotten real weird, man.
Just campaign as hard as you can for like Ocasio-Cortez and you'll be fine.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. All right.
Someone's asking me for the link to that Ethan Van Sciver thing. I don't know if I can find it. It was just the other day. 7 hours long. I was on at the end. Scott Kurtz versus Comicsgate. I feel like that might have been. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it real quick while we're.
Ethan's good people, though. Like I said, I've met him, and they don't just tap anybody to draw Green Lantern. All right.
No. No, they don't.
I'd show off my signed copies, but those are in my living room. So.
Ethan owes me some signed copies of stuff. Not because like I did anything to get them or anything like that.
Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay, here I'm pulling up the. I'm gonna put in the chat the link to that one for people who do want to watch it. He said it's an 8-hour stream. Is in the last hour or hour and a half that I can vouch for. I can't vouch for the rest. Okay, someone. I really need to read this chat from Critical Hit FTW. Says may have unseen evidence for Vic footage no one has addressed. How can we talk directly? You can DM me. You can DM me on Twitter. You can DM me on Facebook. You can send me an email to rekietalaw@gmail.com with the subject Vic info. Just put like, if you type Vic info and then I'm critical hit or something, I'll know what it is. So any one of those three.
He will get back to you. He got back to me. All right. Don't worry.
So you can send me that if you want. Lazarian444 says, thanks for giving a decent person a chance to speak for the furry fandom. Lots of good people here that get unfairly painted with an awful brush. Yeah, and that's the way it's going.
You're not alone, man. It feels like it, but you're not. So just hang tight. Keep your head above the mayhem.
Absolutely. So where were we going next? Oh, we haven't talked about YouTube pedophiles, but
okay, I kind of had told you all the stuff I had on what had been happening with the genre and findings I had with con staff, con friends, who had been covering for who, official statements. So I kind of laid it all out, and you gave me all the answers that I was hoping. Well, I wasn't necessarily hoping to get them, but you answered all my questions very well and laid out what you think is happening. So I'm more than satisfied with that part. If you want to talk about the pedophiles of YouTube, great.
What better thing to talk about than the pedophiles of YouTube? Hashtag pedos everywhere, right? Like
they're coming out of the walls, dude.
That has been one of the craziest things about my foray into this YouTube world and talking about this stuff publicly. What is going on? Hold on. I think it's that website. Whoa! I gotta open that thing in Brave because that was absurd. It was a Fortune, Fortune.com or whatever website about the YouTube pedophilia thing, and it completely lagged out my computer. If it got all choppy on the video, it might have. I apologize. Or my computer's just been on too long. It's also possible. Whoa!
Oh, mine does that too. Aw.
YouTube pedos.
Which might be here. There we go. YouTube pedos. That's a good search term to have.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh, it gave me a bunch of Spanish stuff.
It's okay. You can type YouTube pedos all you want because this stream has been brought to you by NordVPN. Oh, no, I'm kidding. That's like sponsored on every channel I follow, so it's just in my head now.
NordVPN. So there's New York Times. Who should I read? I'm not going to read the Gizmodo one. Let's read thehill.com. Thehill.com. Okay. This isn't I think they're only mostly completely commie. Oh my god, all these autoplay videos. I have Brave on and they've still got autoplay videos.
Autoplay videos, you should be put to death for embedding those in your website.
Yep. I hate the ads that you can't mute very easily. Oh, sorry guys, here we go.
Oh yeah, they'll play in a different window and you're like, where's that coming from?
Okay, so here we go. We've got and we're also supposed to talk about Discord furry power, which we'll do in just a minute.
Oh boy. Oh, and then like this weird furry cult that got unveiled recently because one of my friends almost ended up in it. Oops. Big oopsies.
Big oopsie.
A lot of those going around.
Here we go. Several major companies have reportedly pulled advertisements on YouTube. So the next adpocalypse is coming, and they're going to blame it on the alt-right, but it's really because they've been failing to spot pedos. Following a report that the comment sections on the site have been used to facilitate a softcore pedophile ring. Bloomberg News reported Wednesday that Walt Disney Co. has joined Nestle and video game maker Epic Games in pulling advertising from YouTube days after YouTube user named Matt Watson uploaded a video explaining how YouTube comment sections are used to identify and share exploitative videos of young girls. Watson said in his video that YouTube algorithm has helped the algorithm. Remember what I said about the people writing the algorithms, right?
They've got their biases and it's going to show through in their code because of course it is, even if they don't think it is.
They teach an algorithm. All algorithms do. Mark Kern was on just 2 days ago.
That was so cool that you had Mark Kern on. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. I can't wait to have him again. But
my brother's a game dev, and so that just that shit speaks to me. So
Yeah, well, and what he said about algorithms is spot on. Algorithms and AIs mimic. They mimic human behavior, and what better mimicry than mimicking the people who put it in. So just remember, so the pedos at YouTube created an algorithm that helped facilitate the ability of pedophiles to trade social media contacts, provide links to quote actual child porn, and trade quote unlisted videos in secret. Bloomberg News cited, quote, people with knowledge of the matter in reporting that Disney has since withheld its advertising spending from YouTube. A spokesperson for Nestle told CNBC that all Nestle companies in the U.S. have paused advertising on YouTube. A spokesperson for Epic Games told CNBC that the company has paused all pre-roll advertising. This is a quote from someone from this Epic Games spokesperson. Through our advertising agency, we have reached out to Google/YouTube to determine actions they'll take to eliminate this type of content from their service, the spokesperson added. In a statement to Bloomberg News, a YouTube spokesperson said the company has taken immediate action by deleting accounts, referring illegal activity to authorities, and disabling violative comments. Any content, including comments that endangers minors, is abhorrent, and we have clear policies prohibiting this on YouTube. We took immediate action by deleting accounts and channels reporting illegal activity to authorities and disabling violative comments, the spokesperson said. You know what they took? You know what they took much more immediate action on? Creating algorithms that stop racist or homophobic comments. I mean, they've been very good at that. They've been very good at that. They're not so good. Shit. Now we've stopped the pedos. Now we've stopped the pedos. And you can only imagine like how widespread this must have been to be like Walt Disney, because here's what Disney does. Like, right, so this guy's gonna upload a video and say, oh, by the way, look at these comments that are used to spread pedos, right? Disney's gonna do some sort of regressive research and find out which one of their videos have these types of comments on it, and they're going to find all of it. They're going to find all of it. And they're going to find out how pervasive it is. Let me just let's see why. Am I doing this? I am doing this. Let's see why would these Disney these Disney related things maybe be a grounds for comments for pedophiles. I don't know. 10 prettiest Disney Channel stars, 3.2 million views. Top 10 Disney girls, 428,000 views. Selena Gomez from Child to Women, 2.5 million views. Why would Disney so Why would Disney ads have that kind of problem with their algorithms? I wonder. I don't know why that might be a problem. But think about how pervasive the problem must be for Disney, Nestle, Epic Games. I mean, these are not mom and pop, a chain of barbecue joints in Alabama, right? Like, these are huge corporations. If they're seeing that problem with their videos that they're trying to promote, and they're promoting the most carefully conservative ad campaigns that they can, right? Disney wants their ads on videos that are being watched by a couple different demographics.
Everybody.
Well, I think a couple key demographics. The under 18 demographic is going to have Disney ads. Like, my kids watch Minecraft Let's Plays and stuff. Those things have Disney ads all over them. And then you've got probably the 25 to 35 or 25 to 38 or whatever demographic there is for you've got people with young kids, right? Like, that's who Disney's trying to hit, people with young kids and young kids. So you're talking family friendly content for the most part that they're going to be going. They're not going to be on like horror movie reviews and stuff like that. So, God, what a ridiculously pervasive problem, and how disgusting of that.
It's not a problem I would have foreseen, because it's so out there.
Wait, was that someone's specific YouTube playlist? I don't know what you're talking about, guys. What do you?
Everybody's making fun of Mark Zaid. Isn't that Mark Wade's lawyer? That fucking guy.
I mean, Mark Zaid is Mark Wade's lawyer, but I just pulled
Yeah.
up a random YouTube channel and looked at the liked videos on it, and they were three videos about young Disney starlets. I don't know why they're trying to attach that to like
Mark Zaid. Why would they do that?
a famous lawyer. What are you guys talking about?
I've seen YouTube Twitter spat. That guy's such a fuck though. Like
You
I
notice,
watched.
you notice
Yeah.
he stopped. You notice he stopped.
It wasn't something I consciously noticed, but now that you mention it, I was like, yeah, he sure stopped talking to you. Why is that? Is that like a funny thing that just happened, or?
I tell you what, I will not take credit for this. It may be because I don't know. It may be partly due to me. I'm not going to take credit though. But what I will say is that both Mark Wade and Mark Zaid were absurdly vocal at the beginning of this thing, putting forth a very strong front and lambasting people who had any sort of minor disagreement. And then, I came out with Mark called me some names, suggested that I was too stupid to understand a particular legal concept, and then suggested that I didn't ask him for comment. And when I then, of course, released an email where I had specifically asked him for comment, and he chose not to respond to me for 6 days about it. So then I went with the story. But after calling him a liar, credibly so, and then blowing him out on a couple jurisdictional arguments, they got really, really quiet. And I think what happened is there's some sort of conspiracy theory that Mark Wade's legal bills are being paid by maybe Marvel through Disney, for example. I think that someone with some authority over Mark Wade and by extension Mark Zaid, whether it's Disney, whether it's just the simple fact that Mark Wade got hired by humanoids to be an executive, someone said, "You shut your stupid mouth, you fat idiot." That's what happened. And then they called up Mark Zaid and said, "Hey, you shut your stupid mouth, you fat idiot. You two are making absolute fools of yourself, arguing with some dummy in the middle of Minnesota for no reason. You're upsetting fans. We're getting bad feedback. What are you doing? Shut up and win the case." That's what has to have happened. I don't know if it's because of me. Like I said, I'm not going to take credit for it, even if it's true.
Just go ahead and take credit for it.
I hope it's true, but I don't have any information that it's true. Okay. But
sure. No,
and it wasn't just me that they were yelling at. I mean, Mark Zaid was making snarky comments left and right. Someone told him to shut up. I don't think it was Mark Wade who told him to shut up, because Mark Wade was making the similar types of comments. I think someone got a handle on them finally and was like, "You guys need to shut your mouths. What are you doing? You look like complete idiots right now. You don't need to be fighting this on Twitter."
I mean,
Fight it in court.
They did. Like, I would just follow them. Like, you guys think you look cool, but you don't. And this is coming from a guy who was like, I loved Mark Wade's comic. Like, Kingdom Come is one of my favorite comics. He wrote that back in like the 90s, I believe.
Right.
And it's just so sad to watch this guy who wrote such great stuff just act like a total tool online, and so often, and to so many people. It's like, what are you doing, Mark?
Yeah. Well, just write books. Please just write books.
Like, yeah, they think, oh, I can write books. I can definitely write a good Twitter feed. It's like, no, you can't. Like, that's a skill you don't have. You're too old.
Yep.
Don't do it.
I'm too old for Twitter. I know that guy is.
I'm getting close to it. I feel like maybe I am already there. I don't know, but
yeah. We just have to practice harder. That's what it is.
That's right.
Okay, I've got one chat, and then let's talk about Discord furries to kind of wrap up the evening.
Sure.
Okay, so Kit says, one thing to add to your ISP monopolist topic is that the conspiracy you described wouldn't be stable. It's happened with oil, railroad, and even tech industries before. I mean, you say it wouldn't be stable, but it's proved to be largely stable. There are agreed upon monopolies in telecom. Like there just are.
Of
Uh,
course.
and you can see it. You just move to a town and you ask, who is the internet provider here? Not
Yeah, it's
which.
like
And it
which one's the best? It's which one is there.
now. I'm noticing that Kid is donating in euros, I
That's really
believe.
weird because that's my actual name.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I didn't, Nick. Like,
Yeah. So the euro internet world is much different than the United States one.
oh,
And
is it?
oh yeah, if you just think logistically about population density of Europe being much more concentrated over much smaller areas of space with different sovereignties, and the US having a much larger rural population that is spread out over a much bigger area. I mean, you go to look, if you're in New York, Dallas, Chicago, Houston, of course you're going to have some choices. You get outside of those. You get outside of those towns by 50, 100 miles. You come out to where I live. I mean, you don't have choices. You just don't. You might have a
No, we don't out here either in Michigan. It's just like, oh, there's AT&T. Fuck you.
oh, Kit says, let me elaborate. Absolutely. Go ahead, buddy. Just you don't have to spend more money or anything. Just tag me like you did there. And we'll engage in a little discussion, as we're going. So, in the meanwhile, Rotten B says, Jason Effects and Kabir left the fandom today. Thoughts?
That's definitely addressed to me because those are furry celebrities, and yeah, I'm happy they left. They wrote a comic about people adopting stray dogs and having sex with them, so fuck them. Get
Oh,
out.
yeah. Good. Go away.
Get out.
All right. Kit has elaborated and said owning 100% of the market in a conspiracy doesn't guarantee a long-lasting monopoly, which is how the oil barons went down. The current stranglehold is kept through local legislature. Oh yeah. 100% I agree with you. They've moved away from that agreed upon sort of structure that they were using to now they just leverage local and municipal governments to get a stranglehold and use eminent domain to take cable space for one particular provider, and that's the provider by making a very lucrative deal with cities. Yes. You're 100% right. You will not find disagreement with me. And my personal argument is that monopolies are not a problem. Monopolies that are enforced by government are the problem. And there's a very big distinction there because monopolies are not typically sustainable without some other thing, because eventually people they won't pay the high prices because they can't.
Yeah, if you can't pay it, you can't pay it.
But yeah, so no, we're in agreement, buddy. We're in agreement. Okay, let's talk about Discord furries.
Discord.
So there were a bunch of Discord channels like getting shut down, except not channels with like nasty furry stuff. Is that right? Is that how that came to light? Or what happened?
That's kind of what was happening. There was a Newsweek article about it. It was apparently a lot of the Discord staff and moderation team, like of the actual company Discord, not just random servers, were furries, and they had their predilections and biases, and they were choosing to just kind of let furry servers go on the sly. And from what I gathered, Discord banned obviously child pornography, but even like Shota and illustrated types of illustrated child pornography. But they were like, well, cub, which is like the furry term for it, where it's just children furry porn. That's
Dude,
on the what's up?
Someone used the term hairless cub the other day on Twitter, and I almost tracked them down.
You might have to kill them. Please don't say. Please take that quote out of context and record it everywhere. I just say that now. I'm like, fuck it. No, but apparently the Discord server is like, well, they're cub characters. That's like 2 layers of abstraction of reality, so it's good. And people were like, I don't know if it's as good as you say it is. And Discord came under a lot of fire for that. It sounds like now it's against the rules, from what I'm gathering. People are having pushback. I even talked with Dick about it a little on Twitter today. So,
yeah, the whole. Okay, so I've got. Let me make the devil's advocate position here.
I'll allow it.
this is the thing, and this stems from related to the Dick Show, right? The Dick Show Facebook group got nuked a little while back.
I know. I was pissed. I love the Dick Show Facebook group.
I used to love it, and then it got to be something that it wasn't.
I liked the group news. That's really all I had.
Group news was great, and that was the best parts of what was left. And that reminded me of the early Dick Show Facebook group, which really was a wild west of just nonstop insults, telling people to get raped or whatever. And then that stuff started to get reported endlessly, and then the group eventually gets nuked because someone couldn't handle a little banter. And here's the weird thing. It was private, secret group. Outside of illegal content being uploaded in a private secret group, what does Facebook care? Like, that's what I don't get. It's like, let's say someone was uploading porn in a private secret group. Well, so? Like, it's a private secret group. Now, uploading child porn, gas, get rid of it.
Or sending porn to, a minor or something. Don't do that. Don't do that.
If it's an 18 plus group, it's just like any 18 plus web page. But here's the thing. That wasn't what was happening to the Dick Show group. It was just jokes. It was just jokes and maybe some sort of slur here or there that gets labeled as hate speech, no matter how it was actually used. And it's like, wait, why are you banning secret groups for speech? Like, I don't think they should for something like pornography, but at least I can understand it, right?
Sure.
But because, like there could be a kid. There could be a kid or something like that.
No, I've had to deal with that in my own Telegram groups because, I draw pornography sometimes and whatnot, and kids will try to sneak into the groups, and I have to be like, no, you got to get out. You got to get out. Like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. If there's kids, if it's not labeled adult, if no one's clicking
high schoolers, man,
if no one's clicking, I'm 18 plus, agree, then there's a different thing there. And like I said, I don't necessarily agree. I think they could just put in things to say they do have 18 plus groups on Facebook, but I don't know what their restrictions.
They don't have that on Telegram. Like, you got to get people to send you their IDs. It's ridiculous. It feels like, it feels dirty. You'd be like, oh, you got to send me your ID. And it's like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to have the ability to dox this person. But,
right.
I can't have kids get me in trouble for looking at Ram Ranch. Like,
yeah, but like Discord is even further removed. Someone pointed out, Senpai that friend zones you. This is a very wise point. He says Facebook cared because it was not private. They're selling the information to marketers, which I do agree, or marketeers. I agree that they are doing that, and maybe that is complicating it. But the thing about Discord is Discord's different than Facebook, in my opinion. Discord is really like this. You should be able to have a closed server with content that might offend someone, as long as it's legal, in my opinion. Now, whether or not this furry content was or was not legal, if it's kind of
endless debate.
If it's a private closed group, man, I have a hard time shutting anything like that down, personally. But I don't know. I guess Discord is arguably not private, depending on what you do. Mine is, for example, my Discord is private to Patreon subscribers, or now new Project 2 subscribers.
Hey, I'm on that too. Awesome.
Hey, check out Boneitis. Well, make sure you.
I don't have my page up yet, but I know I'm gonna be in on it because Dick told me I would be.
Oh, okay. Okay, my page is up, and I encourage everybody who is a subscriber to me on Patreon to switch over to New Project 2. It takes more management from my point, but that's okay.
That's okay, because he's not going to fucking railroad us, so...
Yeah, exactly. Well, he will if the bank says to. He's very open about that.
That was in the user agreement, so we're all good.
Yeah, that's the one. Honestly, he had a poll about it. That's the best part. Transparency and respect for the creators. Just tell us why we're off.
Yeah.
Just tell us what's wrong.
Oh, Yeah, that was my whole point coming on this stream. Just tell us why we can't be at the con. Don't just say, "Oh, you're not good enough." I know that's not true. Anyway.
But anyway, so my principal argument is if it's legal and it's in a private secret group, I don't care how offensive it is. I know there are people who very much will say that lolly and shota or whatever and illustrated cub porn should be illegal. I don't think that's an unreasonable position to have. The position that I will take though is for now it is legal in the U.S. Not in Europe and not in Canada, from my understanding, but it is legal in the U.S. So if it's still legal, I don't have a problem with it, so long as it's U.S. based. But I mean, when I say I don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with people having a server that passes that stuff around. I don't think it's healthy,
No,
by any stretch.
Fucking not.
Get help, Digibro.
No, like I draw pornography like half for a living, and I'll even say like, "Oh yeah, pornography addiction totally happens." Like, don't you will fry your brain out on this shit. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen it happen to my own clientele. Like, let's not fuck around here.
Yeah, and CK is saying lolly equals child porn. I agree with you that it does. However, in the U.S., the legal distinction is there, and I very much believe in maximum speech within the terms of the law. So even if I disagree with something, my principles don't let me take a stance against it. If you want to advocate for it to be illegal, I mean, more power to you. And I think there is a move. There is actually currently some moves being made to make stuff like illustrated lolly porn illegal in the United States right now. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. That's a free speech battle.
My stance is that it should be allowed because it's just an illustration, but simultaneously I should totally be allowed to make fun of it as much as I want.
Right. Yeah.
That's what's most important to me.
I agree. We should be able to definitely mock any and everything. Is that a raccoon sister of battle?
That's my own character, Boneitis. So it's the Adepta Boneitis instead of the Adepta Sororitas. It's the since we finished Inquisitor Nick, I had this. She's just kind of a back burner project, so I figured, we'll keep it 40K themed. Why not?
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
Scott Severin says, settling a beef. Was I the only fan mentioned who was mentioned by name in the Masterson versus Maddox lawsuit? I don't remember. There was my favorite document ever was when the like 50 pages of insults that were compiled and added to that motion to enjoin the entire internet from ever saying the word Maddox again. I really, really, man, I almost wish Ramos would have heard that motion. But of course it was settled outside of the hearing. I know you were, listed in that document, but I don't know if you were the only one. It's been so long. Someone says, so I can't settle your beef. Sorry. I just don't remember. Nicole asks, what if an artist can draw child porn realistically? Well, basically, if you get to the level of photorealism of an identifiable child, if it's photorealistic, I think it qualifies.
What qualifies as photorealistic, though? That can get subjective, like in terms of art. Like, obviously, we know it's like, oh, Chuck Close, that's photorealistic art, but it's like, how do you define what level of graphite shading is photorealistic? It gets really hard to quantify.
I think it's
obviously I don't like it, but
I think it's how they would look at it is that if it is it would have to be full color, I would guess. I don't think it could be a pencil sketch, no matter how.
Well, I brought up Chuck Close. What about black and white photography then?
Yeah, I guess. I think the standard would have to be that probably from the digital image, you cannot tell that it was drawn.
Okay, yeah. So if you're a really good artist, no.
Right. Now, I
That's
think
terrible.
people who are doing almost indistinguishable photorealism, I think are probably doing well enough that they don't have to draw a lolly. If I had to,
I'm in a real desperate spot.
yeah. So cartoon porn of a real child is acceptable. Well, I don't know if it's acceptable. It's legal
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
U.S.
Oh boy.
Shadman draws porn of real girls, right? And yes, and he
Get
should be
invited to
shamed.
your daughter's birthday party. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
he should be shamed for that, or whatever needs to be done. Is it acceptable? I don't think so. It goes against every moral fiber that I have. Is it legal? Currently, yeah. What Shadman does is legal. He does it out in the open. If now again, outside of the U.S., these rules change very quickly. So I don't know. Maybe buy Shadman a plane ticket to Malaysia and see if he goes there.
He'd do well. Well, earlier I talked about it was that Jason Aphex and Caviar thing. It's like, yeah, they make those gross animal porn comics. I don't like them, but they are still just comics. They should be allowed to make them, but I will, I'll never like them or think it's like, yeah, bring that up at grandma's birthday, like, but
Yeah, real quick, the bad goy in StreamMe chat says, of a real child, pretty sure it's illegal if I recall. No, there's confusion on this, and they're
I didn't know that.
actually Gab was citing the statute you're thinking of. It's a federal statute, but I will tell you that the way that statute is written and the purpose of it is to, because what it says is digital images or phony something, basically reproduced images of an identifiable child. But what they're talking about is basically an argument was made that a digital reproduction of a photograph, okay, so like a Polaroid picture is taken of a real child, and then that is scanned and stored in a digital media. It is no longer a photograph, right? So it's no longer, no longer a real thing.
That gets so technical. It's interesting, though.
Right.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
So the argument was made that there are pixels involved. This is a digital replication of it. It's not actually child pornography because it's just magnets on a hard drive, right? This is the argument that was made. So the federal statute that exists that makes that illegal, it's the same statute that Gab was citing as a reason for not allowing Lolly on the platform. That is actually just protecting a data storage of captured children stored digitally and reproduced from digital media onto a screen or onto a printer or something like that. So that was the purpose of that statute, and that's how it's been very narrowly interpreted, because it is a prior restraint on free speech. Technically, it has to be narrowly construed to achieve the purpose it was created for. So that's how strict scrutiny works on speech restrictions that are prior restraints. They have to be narrowly tailored to achieve the task, and they cannot be overbroad. So currently in the U.S., the way the Supreme Court has gone on this is that even if it is an identifiable child, and I'm not advising anyone to do this. Do not take advice from me. You pay your own lawyer to get advice on this. But I'm telling you how the Supreme Court has ruled in the past is that even if it is an identifiable child, so long as it is not an actual photographic representation of them, and I don't mean photorealistic imagery, I mean it is an actual photograph or video or something that is taken, stored digitally, and then reproduced from that digital storage, that counts the same as if it were an actual photograph on film that was developed in an analog style format. So that's what that statute exists for. It is very complicated because a reasonable, normal person reading that statute goes, oh yeah, lolly's illegal. And that maybe is how it should be, but it's not. And again, Andrew Torbus was absolutely wrong on how he used that citation. I tried to tell him, but he didn't listen to me. Redacted says, as degenerate as it is, Child illustrations don't involve a living child, and studies suggest that it can reduce the risk to real children. Real child porn, even stuff that already exists, increases demand for new content, and that is often displaced. So I don't know. I know the reasoning behind making child porn illegal is that idea that having it out there at all, having it distributed even for free, increases the demand and then increases the risk of exploitation of a real child. And that's what they're punishing. They're not actually punishing the artistic representation. They're punishing the risk of exploitation to someone who cannot consent. That's what they say. That's the reasoning for the law. Whether or not that's right or whether or not that's just how they get around the First Amendment protections that might be afforded to child pornography, who cares? That's the reasoning that they use. So I don't know anything about the studies suggesting that lolly can reduce the risk to real children. I think anyone who is looking at child pornography that is illustrated or real should seek assistance.
I mean, I'm a porn artist too, and I would even say that as well. You're feeding a beast, and it's not taking your life in a direction you want to go. It's probably not as healthy as the forums you've been on have led you to believe. I've seen too many people over my career get fucked up by this shit. So, and that's coming from a guy who profits off of nudity. So,
critical.
Sorry if I made it too real.
Critical FTW. I'm looking for your particular.
This is the guy who claims he has like video evidence of like Vic McNagna or however the fuck you say his name, being innocent. He just wants to make sure that he got a hold of you. He sent you a Twitter DM or something.
Yeah,
I told him
to
hit me up if he wasn't sure, and I'll make sure you get it. So
yeah, if you added me on Twitter, I might not see it. If you DM me, I'll eventually see it.
Yeah.
My DMs are open, so I've just got a bunch of requests to go through. If you added me, since this show started, I've got like 2,000 notifications. I won't see it. So if you didn't DM me, please do DM me. Do not feel bad about that. Otherwise, yeah, if you could DM Boneitis and he'll forward it to me as well. There you go.
I'm a higher priority, you see.
My DMs are just a mess right now because of this GoFundMe and because of the Vic stuff. So
yeah, well, that's to be expected.
Yeah, Michael Mascarena says Nick is not the hero we wanted, but the hero we need. Well, thanks, buddy.
A compliment.
I do appreciate compliments. What is true, and I think it's overlooked, is that it's even if you don't care what people say about you and you can let anything roll off your back, which I've been yelled at by judges.
Sure. I mean, it's gonna happen in your line of work.
Right. I've been yelled at by judges. I've been yelled at by clients. I've been yelled at by my parents. I've been yelled at by my wife. Someone on Twitter is not going to make me feel bad about something, but I always do like the encouragement. All right, Critical. If you sent me in DM, then yeah, I'll get it. I'll make sure and get it.
I'm trying to help with comments when I can.
Yeah, if I don't get it, please just if I don't respond to you, just tag me when you wake up and I'll look at it. Okay, couple chats from Streamy, then I think we should wrap up because we've been going a good amount.
No,
good
it's
3
been a
hours
good
here.
stream. Yeah, we're doing good. I wasn't sure what your length was, what your usual length was at this point. So
that's a little personal. No, it's 3 hours is where I tend to target it, but
all right.
Yeah, and we're a little over that, just for my own sanity and liquor consumption. Okay, Hyphen from Streamy says, do furries hate Jordan Peterson because the fursuit makes it impossible to wash your penis?
From what I've gathered, yeah, actually, it's not because of the penis washing. It's just they just don't like Jordan Peterson because he tells them to clean things and act like men. They don't like that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I like JP. Like, he's had his share of fumbles, but his overall message, yeah, I like the guy. What can I say?
Okay, I don't want to end the stream just yet. I do have one more comment, and then I want to talk to you about that a little bit because that's interesting to me.
Sure.
Pharaoh Owen says, when we win, do not forget that these people want you broke, dead, your kids raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. Well, that is really depressing. Thank you.
Subtle.
But I don't disagree. The interesting thing is there are people out there that really do wish real harm for just disagreement.
No, I said as much earlier, so I see where it's coming from.
Yep, absolutely. The real Lady Rackets, I wouldn't dare paint you in a negative light. You are angelic, and I'm sure you were fully justified for yelling at me. It was entirely my fault. Okay, so you mentioned Jordan Peterson, and I've noticed that there are people who tend to attract crowds that you wouldn't even expect them to attract. Now, Jordan Peterson's in a little bit different league because he was, I don't know if he is anymore, he was a highly respected clinical psychologist, a prolific writer of academic works as well, and a respected professor until he started speaking his mind. Now he's the dumbest person on the planet, according to all the people who probably a couple years ago were actually reading his work. But he's able to attract an audience, and that kind of makes sense. But there are other people who don't necessarily make sense, but they attract really, really broad audiences. And just to name, and their views are diverse, their characteristics are diverse, but there's something about a lot of them. And I wanted your opinion on this. I mean, guys, sure. Even like Dick Masterson, for example, attracts a pretty good following. His podcast is very widespread. You've got guys like Joe Rogan. You've got guys like Adam Carolla. Who else is out there? That Jesse Lee Peterson guy. He's kind of on fire right now.
Oh man, he's so good. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's absolutely hilarious.
Me and my husband both love him, and he is crazy homophobic. We don't even care. We're just like, no, he's great. Fuck off.
Okay, so and even people who are much smaller but still attract an audience that is kind of surprising, like Coach Red Pill, for example.
I like CRP.
Yeah, he's got like 150,000 subscribers, something like that. So
wow, nothing.
He's been able to attract quite a bit of attention, and I think there's something to it where. I don't know what it is. My thought is that there's a generation, and I don't mean an age generation. I mean some demographic, whatever it is, that is just.
This is say myself like a graphic then.
Yeah, because it's multi-age, but I think they just want men who will stand up and state a position with confidence and clarity, like. Jesse Lee Peterson's positions on things they're not even mainstream right wing. Like they're hilarious, and he has so much conviction for them and confidence in saying it that it's magnetic. There's something about it that makes you want to just say, you know what?
You can't look away. You can't stop listening. You're like, yeah, this is hardly even tenable, if even that, but sure, I'll hear more.
And I know people are saying CRP's on a downslope, and I'm speaking outside of the context of his recent drama on the Kill stream, which I haven't really been following.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing either.
Yeah, but so I've heard about it in the periphery, but I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying that Coach Red Pill he's a guy who, by just speaking with confidence and clarity, many positions that I would disagree with, but he articulates them and has projected success with them, and he has successfully built an audience that you might not expect from someone like Coach Red Pill. Same thing with Dick Masterson. Same thing with Jordan Peterson. Same thing with I don't know. There are any number of examples you can point to, and it's a very interesting phenomena to me. I think people are thirsty for people who speak with conviction. Even betas like Destiny, right?
Disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely degenerate pile of garbage. And and nowhere near as smart or adept as he thinks he is. Hi. Well, you have to understand my position is very nuanced. So you have to understand all the nuance in my position. I've thought very much about the nuance, right?
Oh, you go.
No, you go. You make fun of him.
Finish your beautiful Destiny impersonation. I think a lot of men have always had these sort of cravings for people that are willing to not only, well, they're willing to elucidate on their positions, but do it well and do it unapologetically. It's why people like Chuck Palahniuk or Zach De La Roca or Bill Hicks, they've always stood out and been successful, even though their message was very against the mainstream. They did it unapologetically and they did it well. And people have an instinctive respect for that kind of thing where they're like, this guy means what he says and he's not going to back down. And we're attracted to that.
Yeah. I think. And what do you have any theory on how it got there? Like where did that? How did it
get there in the current zeitgeist?
Why did we need that? Like, do I just not realize that we were missing that for so long? That's what I don't get.
Well,
like, why is it, or has it always been popular?
I think it's always popular, but in the current generation of guys that we're seeing do this, it's that we're all stumbling through the jungle of current culture and what the media is telling us to think and believe. And they're like, hey, this stupid male feminist shit, that's what's true. And we all know it's not, but no one has been willing to stand up and say, hey, that's bullshit. And then these guys are like, hey, it is. And then they not only stand up for it, but they do it well. They do it well. They do it with an air of showmanship that sells us, that not only says like, oh, this is entertaining, but it also sells us that they believe it too. It's not fake shit. At least that's where I come from. It's what I look for. And I think a lot of guys look for it, is they look for a measure of integrity to these things because they know how little integrity their day-to-day lives or their shitty corporate job has. Where they're like, wow, I feel like a sellout all the time. And it's like, well, this guy didn't sell out and he's doing okay. And we want to support that because it's the noble truth we want to see in the world around us, because it's better, because it's noble and it's true. It's right there in the title, Noble Truth.
Yeah, and to me, it's very uplifting.
It is.
Because, and I think the diversity of people who are attracting these audiences is what really encourages me. Because it's not like there's just some wave. I mean, many of them are at least right-leaning. But there's not just some wave of ubiquitous thought that is fad popular. It's merely the fact that someone is holding tightly and, like you said, doing it well to some thought, to something that says, this guy has an ethos, and that's enough for me. He's got an ethos that he is willing to stake his reputation on putting it out in the public. And I think that's what's cool to me. I've just been noticing that. I'm trying to get different opinions on it as I talk to people. And you mentioned Jordan Peterson, or someone else mentioned it. But you said that he stands up and tells guys, no, like make sure you're clean, make sure your room is clean, work on yourself, stop blaming everybody else that people don't want to be around you, and actually just make yourself better. Walk with your shoulders back and your head up.
That's a simple but beautiful message, and it's something I think, hearing someone, because that was something I would tell myself all the time, but it wasn't being reflected in the broader culture. But then I heard this very well-spoken man who made a lot of money say it, and he said it well, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm not crazy for not wanting to be disgusting. Awesome. And part of it's sad that we had to get to that point, but it's also nice that there's someone whose message corresponds with the thunder in our hearts and the magma in our souls. Like, yeah, we want to hear that. And it's encouraging. Absolutely. It makes you not feel alone in this shit.
Yeah, I agree. Someone is saying, a couple people are saying Monica Rial has a GoFundMe now for 100,000. I just tried to look it up, and I think it's already been taken down.
She's a voice actress as well, isn't she?
She's one of the main accusers of Vic Mignogna. She is the voice of Bulma from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe she got Me Too'd, like she raped somebody. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, maybe. I don't think so. I think one of the other ones has accused her. Yeah, that campaign has already been taken down for whatever
Oops.
reason. Who knows?
And yours is still up for Vic?
Mine is still up for Vic, and the reason mine is still up is because it's 1,000,000% legitimate.
Why? So why would hers not be legitimate though? Like I don't know too much about this case, but
I don't know.
Oh, okay, sure.
It wasn't, as far as I was aware, it wasn't there. And actually, when people first mentioned it, I searched on GoFundMe in the background while we were talking, and I saw the campaign. But by the time I clicked on it, it said campaign not found, and now it's gone. So maybe someone set that up and she didn't approve it, and it was reported for that, and that may be possible. But no, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you that I've already been in contact with GoFundMe, because here's the thing: when you set up a GoFundMe for a third party, I didn't know this, and I'm glad that they do this. GoFundMe actually sends you an email and says withdrawals are not allowed until, since it's for a third party, until you get us some sort of consent of the third party, right? Like
makes sense. It makes sense.
Because they have to report any of this tax wise. They have to report the amount of money if it's over 10 grand. They have to report that on taxes. So anyone, by the way, saying that I was planning on scamming this, GoFundMe doesn't let you do that very quickly. Maybe you could do that on like a $1,000 or something. But once you get that, the campaign I did went over 10 grand in like an hour or something. Not an hour, couple hours, very quickly. And
fuck it, lie. It went over 10 grand in 7 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. However fast it was. And I got an email from them very quickly that says, you've indicated in your campaign that the beneficiary is a third party, so withdrawals are not allowed until you follow these steps and verify these things. So GoFundMe doesn't actually let you do that on large campaigns, which is something I learned. I'm really glad, because that helps eliminate people accusing me, because I can just say, you know what, GoFundMe doesn't let you do that, so shut your mouth.
So fuck off. Sorry, I know you don't swear. Yeah. Being around you, I'm like, shit, I swear a lot. See, I already did it right there.
Okay.
I forget you don't do that, and then it's like, wait.
Well, I mean,
sorry.
I don't on stream, mostly because it's kind of like just a meme.
It's beautiful though. It's pure. It's wholesome.
Sometimes I don't feel so wholesome when we're talking about hairless cubs.
Yeah, sorry. Well, you spoil into my realm of the world, and it gets tricky fast.
So there are two chats. One, Landon Mack and James says, it's so mealy, daddy. And then Michael Mascarena says, hashtag I stand by Vic. And then Robot Police donated but didn't say anything. Thank you so much for that. Have you noticed that I've noticed a very firm trend, speaking of profanity, that they're typically left themes, but it's really like themes of neo-feminism, intersectionality, pro-LGBTQ, like hardcore advocates. They use profanity copiously in their just general discussion. I find it completely unbecoming. And I'm a guy who, like, you get me in a group with my friends, and I know that there's no children around or whatever, and I will swear as much as the next person all day. But the fact that these people's public discourse is so loaded with the F-bomb, like these effing right-wingers, it like you can't get through a Twitter post. Nowadays, you can't get through like an Oscar acceptance speech without an F-bomb being thrown in there about the Donald Trumps. Like, you have Congress people standing up.
Trumpster.
Yeah, you've Congress people standing up and saying, F Trump and all this stuff. And it's like, wait, what? When did this become a thing? And it's to me, it's just, it demonstrates a weakness in the rhetoric of these positions that it's like I don't mind an occasional swear word in rhetorical stuff, but it's a false passion to me that they're putting
Well, I
out
mean,
there.
it's affected my eloquence, I would certainly say. It's not something I particularly like. It is how people talk, especially in the spur of the moment. It's when they're feeling spirited, which that's okay. But no, that's you'll see this relating it back to comics. You'll see that in a lot of comics written by younger people, is the characters casually swear like they're in a Tarantino movie, and it can come off as unnatural to someone who's not a millennial or younger or in that age range.
Right.
And it can be obnoxious, and I have to, I've had to catch myself on it during this stream, because it's just, that's the people I'm around, and I'm
Well,
around someone like Nick. I'm like, oh, I gotta step up my game. I gotta
well,
be better than this.
that's kind of the fun thing with me not swearing much at all is that it makes people uncomfortable.
Very self-aware. No, it's not even bad, because it's something I don't notice, because everybody around me is like it. It's like, I should probably swear a little less.
Yeah.
But you get so used to it. And what's funny though is that I used to work at a science center as like a muralist and a presenter and all that stuff, and we were around children a lot, and I could just turn it off like it was nothing. But it was like it was either all or nothing. And now I'm thinking, like, well, maybe I should learn to use more words in my speech. Nick sounds good. I sound like an idiot. He is a lawyer, and I'm a silly comic book artist, but there's something to be learned from all walks of life.
Oh, and lawyers swear a ton. Make no mistake. And like I said, guys, I'm not condemning. Someone said hang out with a group of line cooks. Yeah.
Oh God, I used to do that.
Yeah, I love hanging out with people who use it non-artificially, right? Like that. This is my point: is that the rhetoric of typically liberal positions has become infused with an artificial outrage that they must express with the use of the F word. It's a crutch. It's a crutch because they're not actually mad. But they need to be for their positions to matter, because their positions don't make sense when we're talking about, and I mean, we're talking about extreme leftist positions. We're talking about, we're talking about Femen, right? The feminist organization that is always topless. Or there's that professor
that's kind of cool. Well, yeah. But they're probably ugly though, so fuck it. Shit, well, I did it again.
Or there's that one professor. She's like an Ivy League professor, and she delivers all of her lectures like completely nude, and it's kind of horrifying. I don't remember her name. No.
Oh yeah, I figures.
No, well, I mean, would she be?
No. I don't know. Why did I even ask? What's wrong with me?
This isn't the Cinemax version of reality. This is actual reality. But
nothing ever works out in my favor.
But no, and like some of my friends are military, infantry guys, and
those guys swear a lot.
and I love every second of it, because it's
they're great. I love those guys.
It's built genuinely into the lexicon. I hate when it's ham-fisted in there.
Because you can tell.
Right. And when I was doing screenwriting in college, we had a guest, and he's a guy that all of you have seen his work. His name is Sidney Iwanta. He was basically the guy who approved all family television throughout the 80s. So like, wow. He approved the scripts and the script books for the story arcs for Transformers, My Little Pony, Full House. All these things went across his desk, right? That he's the go-to guy to say, is this going to sell to a family audience? And but the guy is like New York, like straight out of New York. His vocabulary and vernacular were not PG at all. But he was criticizing the writing world, and this is back in 2004. He's criticizing the writing world and talking about how if you removed the F word from the American lexicon, half of the movies in America could not exist. And he's like, we've got to be better. We've got to be better writers. And this is a guy who said the F word probably 15, 20 times in that lecture. But
Rid of it in my comics. Oh, it's calling me out.
yeah, there you go. You don't, and you know, he read our scripts that we wrote, and he ripped all of them apart properly. Mine was, you know, it was devastating. Always healthy to have someone who doesn't care about you read your script. But man, if you had profanity in it and it didn't make any sense, he ripped you apart.
Oh, they'll kill you over that. Screenwriters, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's see, man. This has been great. There's a couple more chats, and let's wrap it up.
Sure, yeah, we got some chats. I'll answer them. You'll answer them.
True American Hero says, draw more animal genitals.
Nope, that's actually in my TOS that I will not draw that.
Oh no, you only draw people genitals on anthropomorphic
characters that have human proportions. Like, you know, the furry thing. It's barely a thing for me. Like, so.
Yeah. Landon Mackinjames says, saying FUCK is so satisfying to me. It's nice. And again,
it is.
No, it is when it's there because you are,
when it's real.
Yeah, when you need to express it that way, or even when you don't. I'm not saying like, oh, it's got to be important. You can use it casually, absolutely, if it's part of your lexicon. The language of leftist discourse has required it because they require outrage for their position, and it's embarrassing. Bo Stoker says, off topic, yo, I'm banned on Twitter. Can you weigh in on the Trump's Twitter feed is a public forum in relation to Occupy Wall Street, Zuccotti Park, where a private company couldn't exile the public? That's a really good one. That's a really good question. The difference between Twitter and a physical private park is that parks, even if they're privately owned, tend to be held out as a place of public accommodation or public use. And the reason that places will own a privately own a park that is open to the public is because they get some immunity from liability for injuries that happen on a publicly accessible, privately owned property. I don't know if that's the case with Zuccotti Park, and I can tell you the other thing is that companies have a different standard than physical, or internet companies, I should say, have a different standard than any physical real property. Although I think that's going to change. I hope Trump's Twitter feed is a public forum. I really do. I hope they come to the realization that Twitter is a public forum because Twitter holds itself out as a public forum. And if Twitter wants to be a public forum, then and have the protection from lawsuits for things like copyright infringement and defamation being published on their property, then they cannot curate the content. But if Twitter wants to be a curated forum, then they need to be liable for defamation and copyright the same way any distributor or publisher is currently liable. If you're going to edit and curate content, then you need to be liable the same way that traditional media is. And if you want that protection, which I'm all for having that protection, then you need to be unable to ban people for wrongthink. That's my personal opinion. So, that's that. Queen Nidus says, I'm late to the stream. Any way I can get a brief summary? Oh man, we've covered a lot of topics. You want to attempt a brief summary, Bone?
Let's see. Brief summary. There's been some hinky things going on at furry conventions. It's a reflection in terms of being a microcosm of the larger culture war. That's best I can do.
I think that's adequate. Also, YouTube has been shielding pedos.
Yeah, pedophiles came up a lot too.
Yeah. Landon says, Nick, if you ever lost a bet and had to go play furs with furries at a convention, what animal would you be and why?
Be the macaw. We went over that.
Yeah, I'd have to be the within the law macaw.
Within the law macaw.
That's
fight
that's
the legal eagle.
Right. Well, killing the legal eagle.
Killing the legal
in Minecraft. In
Minecraft, obviously.
All right. Well, man, let's wrap it up. Thank you to the chat for hanging out with us. Thank you to my guest, Bone. Bone, don't leave. I like to say goodbye personally, after the
Oh, sure.
stream
Thank
ends.
you.
So thank you. You are a tremendous artist. Let me focus again on your picture there. If you want to
Boneitis here. Yeah, yeah.
if you want to center it real quick so people can
Oh,
see
sure,
the
sure,
work.
sure.
The
You can
dude,
see the part that's more done. Your guy, Inquisitor Nick, is in the scanner because I'll have to put him through to get to the next layer to get painted. But
man.
he got finished during the stream, so I moved on to something else.
Oh, someone asked if you were going to auction off the pictures.
I usually do sell them out of my portfolio. Obviously, since it was for you, you would get Mr. Rekieta. You'd get first dibs on it if you wanted to buy the original. That's up to you, obviously. Otherwise, yeah, it'll just go onto my regular website or be sold at a convention. That's just how I do
Oh,
things.
man, I think I might want to pick that up.
There will be because of the way I do things, there will be the original pencils and the painting, so you can get either or both, whatever. We can talk about it later. Not a big deal.
Yeah,
Not gonna
man.
hassle you on it.
No, let me know though, because I definitely want to. I definitely want to.
You bet. I'll send you the high res scans and all that, totally free of charge, of course. So
awesome, man. I love that picture. It's on the scanner, so you can't really put it out, can you?
I can go grab it. Hold on, scanner's right here on the printer tower of power.
Okay,
I've got 3 different printer scanners, so
one more show so I can dream about it tonight.
he's all ready to be painted. So let's get him.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah,
that is
he's pretty
so cool.
And if there's any corrections you want me to make or anything, I can do that, no sweat. So
I wouldn't dare. Oh wait,
you're allowed. You're allowed.
Okay, I wouldn't dare, but someone in the chat suggested if there was a way to incorporate a whiskey bottle.
When I was originally doing the layout, I was gonna have him have one in his holster, but then I kind of centered it more on just his upper body. So, that was my bad.
I think it's perfect the way it is. Like I said, I don't like messing with people's artistic vision. I mean, I'm absolutely flattered and I love it. I really do.
Problem,
I really do
Your
want
streams, they help me a lot. They've done a lot for my career, so thank you so much. I was glad to do it. I figured it'd be a nice thing to do for a guy who's been nice to me. So
well, anytime you've got a subject, buddy, let me know. And it doesn't have to be pedo related.
No, it can totally be about bestiality.
Yeah.
That's my life. Oh, just dealing with these crazy sex pests.
We can have a non-sex stream at some point.
Well,
actually,
I gave you some follow up on what happened with the original Zuo sadist thing in the first place, and then this all came up, and I figured, well, maybe it's time for another stream. So.
Well, let me do this one thing real quick. I of course had stupidly suggested that I would do a 24-hour live stream after I passed 24,000 subscribers.
Oh, you are due. You are due.
So I am going to. I'm just trying to figure out with a lot of children. I have to make sure that we have this plan because I'm not going to leave poor Lady Rackets to handle all of the kids for the entire day and night and like another day or no, a night, a day, and a night. Well, there's some talk about when we're gonna do it. I'm trying to make it as soon as possible, but just please bear with me that I'm trying to schedule it. But I would love to invite you onto that show for any or as much time as you want to come hang out. I'm going to be asking all sorts of people to come on, of anyone who's been on the show, really, to come on. And
great.
Yeah, so
as long as I'm not at a convention, I can do it. So
well, and. Yeah. So I'll let you know when the date is going to be. And if you have any time during that 24-hour period, just pop in and hang out for a little bit. I'd really appreciate it.
I'd be glad to do it. No, you guys, everybody, you, Dick, everybody has done so much for me. So,
well, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, man. All right. The Queen Knightis says awful furry behavior has been a thing since the first convention. Drug abuse and preying on minors has been a thing since I joined the fandom in early 2000s. Kid and adult interactions have been normalized by most furries, sadly. And that is sadly.
Oh boy. Yeah. I've only been around 11 years. It's definitely gotten worse in the last 3. I'll say that. So,
yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for the stream. Tomorrow night, I will be covering the Covington kids lawsuit against the Washington Post for $250 million. there's going to be, we're going to just read through it, the whole cause of action. I hear the lawyer who did it is a powerhouse, so definitely come check that out if you want to see what it's about. I'll give you my very candid opinions on their cause of action. I will say I'm glad they're doing it, but right now I am very skeptical. I know they're trying to change the way all of this is happening. And yeah, we definitely want to do that. Oh, and there's one more chat from Streamy. Asmahound says, your stream is brilliant to work to, Nick. I look forward to more. Also, Boneitis, check FA after for affinity.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's awesome.
So, all right, guys. Well, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh, Bone, can you where can they find your work, and where can they find you?
If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at Boneitis. That's Boneitis. If you Google Boneitis, and anything that's not a Futurama image is usually me. So I've totally ruined that Google search for everybody forever. Otherwise, you can just Google Kit Jaspering, and the entire first page of results is all me. That's KIT Jaspering. That's me. I have FA, DeviantArt, everything. So I'm all over the place.
And if you want to DM me a link, I'll update the description and add.
Yeah,
something.
I can put like my Patreon or Twitter or whatever on there.
Yeah, whatever you prefer, buddy.
Sure.
All right, thanks, guys.
My project too. Sorry.
Yes. Thanks, guys. You guys have a good night. Peace.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out.